Yeah, please don't put what I just said on the podcast.
Yeah, dark. I mean, not like they're getting any royalties anyway. No one's listening to it.
No one's buying their fucking vinyl.
Except for JJ.
Hey!
Did it come with your Gary Glitter box set?
I've just got all 20. I've got 19.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to not another episode.
What happens when it comes to it? In the thing.
Oh, maybe they did. So in the back, there is a
Light brown jacket.
cool story.
We're not the first. We definitely won't be the last. We'd like to welcome you. Not another conspiracy
I'll tell you who's losing profits.
Hey, it was lost profits.
And we don't, well, if we don't start a podcast talking about child molesters, then
You know,
is
it's
this
not us.
really our podcast?
I was going to say, you know that we have not been abducted by fucking lizards and shit.
Yeah, it's still the same old podcast that you guys know and love. Welcome to another episode of Not Another Conspiracy Podcast with Mr. Dean Sauter in Michigan.
I have. Sorry, I'll cut that out. I'll cut that out. It's not on, is it?
Who now works in a helium factory. Plus its endless supply of helium.
Believe Dean. That's what I say. Believe Dean.
Believe me.
And in York, Mr. JJ Jackson.
What?
I wish I had a sound bite for clapping, but I don't. But well,
And in Southend-on-Sea, Mr. Ben Mills. Oh, 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 oh.
Thank you.
fucking
Thank you.
chef in, bro. Fucking chef in. Do you know what I mean, bro? You know what I mean?
Welcome to the podcast. And today I think we're doing more of a true crime episode today, I think.
Tis.
I can't believe it's true crime.
It's
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 story.
It's so I can't believe it that I almost can believe it is bar. Like it's that
Yeah.
bonkers.
There,
Or at
there's
least feels
moments
that
in it
bonkers.
where people, everyone like involved, because we're talking about Robert Durst. If you haven't heard him, he's the star of a HBO documentary about him.
I was going to say he is not the lead singer of Limp Bizkit.
Yes.
Let's clear that now.
But
Because that is Frederick Durst.
No
he's about as
association.
powerful as Fred Durst.
It's bizarre. I had never heard about it until JJ mentioned it. I'm severely angry now that I've heard and watched the Jinx documentary that JJ recommended watching. I can't believe shit like this still kind of goes on.
If you're rich and white, it goes on, mate.
Right, yeah.
It's the same thing we said
fucking
last
white
week.
people,
Our last
man.
podcast.
Rich white people. We're not doing true crime or real life crime documentary. It's just white rich assholes section.
Yeah, the
Or a
last two
genre.
episodes, this episode and the last one, are definitely
Rich
like white
white
people getting away
assholes.
with crimes.
Hey,
I think so. You two, obviously, you two have kind of made your minds up on the whole thing. I don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil it. I really don't want to spoil it.
I
Don't
like
even
this
do it.
comment. I like this comment. Go on, JJ.
I don't want to spoil it, but I still, there's something about him that makes me feel that he might not be the man who you two think he is.
Well, now that JJ.
But I'll wait until we get to the end.
I
Like,
think he's
yeah.
like Hannibal Lecter.
the whole time, just in case we haven't mentioned it, we're talking about the program The Jinx. Is it the Lives and Deaths of Robert Durst?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I got put onto it maybe about 2 years ago, and I fell in love with the guy. I absolutely,
Stockholm syndrome.
I fucking love him. I think he's brilliant. Like he reminds me
Murderer.
of Robert,
least
Dustin
3.
Hoffman in Rain Man, crossed with Hannibal Lecter. I
Hannibal
absolutely love
Lecter
him.
is. It's just all I can think of because like he's kind of got that air, well, obviously aristocratic kind of air about him, which he comes from.
And like Ben, that's actually fucking nailed it for me, because I remember watching, and I was sitting there thinking, I don't think I've ever witnessed another human being like him, because he seemed so eloquent and just calm, cool, collected, but fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Fucking like this.
Can you not see his twitch when he's lying because he's going?
Because his eyes go, he has to blink. He has to blink.
Don't lie!
Harder.
Don't lie! Blink away the lie! Blink away the lie!
He kind of reminds me of what Burke Ramsey would be like in 60 years' time.
Well,
He's got that very kind of like. He's got no compassion at all. He's just like, I just passed the man. Like, it's just going on like.
The sheer audacity of the man who loved the dramatized, like they made a film about him, didn't they? Was it?
The Good White. No, not the Good Wife.
The Good White.
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, it was Ryan Gosling. But this is how they started the documentary. The guy who actually directed the film directed the documentary.
Well, that's what I was about to say. All Good Things is the name of the film.
All Good Things. That's it.
And Robert Durst was such a fan of the dramatization of his murder, his potential, like his murder mystery that he was involved in, that he contacted the writer director to make a documentary about his life.
I mean, that's the fucking nuts.
This is why I love him.
Yeah, like
he's definitely got like an interesting character.
It's like I said, you saying he's Hannibal Lecter. Like, for instance, there has never been another character like Hannibal Lecter. It's so unique. And to compare him to that it's not that he's a cannibal. Again, listeners, we will I
would not push it, but put it
well,
past
actually, now that you say that, wouldn't put it past him. But he's that much of a unique human being that, like JJ was saying, it doesn't surprise me that there are some people that are like, fucking nuts on that guy. What a legend. Like, to a degree.
Some people, I'm fucking one of them.
No, I'm not. With the listeners and the viewers, if you're watching this on YouTube, we're talking about Robert Durst, who is born. He was a white rich man born into the Durst family, who are one of, is it even to this day one of the 5 most richest
or
families
influential?
In the world?
I think
influential
in New York.
In New York, so they were like a real estate and insurance family, wasn't they? And I believe that they are also ownership, or they own and they maintain the Freedom Tower in New York, I believe. So if there's any fucking building in New York that you're tasked with making sure still keeps standing and is, I don't know, still respectful or holds its point in being there, it's the Freedom Tower. And so clearly they've got some backbone about them. He's a bit of an outcast of the family, though. He's I don't really know how to explain him.
The black sheep, I'd say.
There's a few interviews with people, friends of the family, who's basically called him the runt of the litter.
Yeah.
He never really did anything bad to be extradited as a family member, but he was never kind of always felt distant. He distanced himself even as a child, which I find, again, this is why I love the guy, I find fucking brutal. Like, they said from the age of like 2 or 3, you knew that he was different, and I'm just like,
well, he did witness his mum kill herself.
That was the big one.
And
that was 1950, so he was 7.
And
he's been in
like, you do hear through the documentary as well that like he, like you saying that he was like outcast from the family and stuff. He did, and I don't know whether you compare, like it does sound like he has had a typical serial killer's past, and one of the main trigger points of serial killers is they have an immense connection with their mother. And I don't recall through the documentary him being kind of overly obsessed with his mother, but it was the death of his mother that was really fucking bizarre for him to keep bringing up.
In its kind of essence on its own, which is in the Jinx they never really touch on, but like she threw herself or fell from a roof. But the way that it's dramatized in the Jinx, it's very Haunting on Hill Manor kind of vibe. She's like, it's all really spiritual, and she's wearing a white floaty dress.
I think
it's
that's
all very
how
like
he described it. And
and
the rest of the family
not,
say that she fell.
Right.
He's the only one that's ever said that she jumped.
And it's.
I mean, why would you be on the roof?
Right, but another weird thing
fun.
about it also was the fact that his father allegedly brought him into the doorway of the kitchen to
watch.
Looked obviously to watch and be like, look what mummy's doing. Like that, I remember watching that and being like, what the fuck? To me, that doesn't sound like that's the way it went down.
He even questions it, doesn't he? He even kind of goes, why would a father do that to a child? Why would he force his child to look?
I have a feeling. I have a kind of an idea in my head. Is that I guess that the kid he worshipped his mother, and he didn't really get on with his dad, which is pretty much how it carries on. I think it was kind of like look how weak and stupid your mother is. Look, she's showing off again. Look at her, and you idolize her, and then she just went. He's like, oh, maybe I didn't want to show him that part of it.
I never looked at it like that, you know.
Yeah.
That's a really fucking good point. And as JJ said, that they don't really focus too much on the idea of him having such an overly obsessive connection with his mother, whether he did or not, I'm not too sure. But that's a fucking good point. I never looked at it like that.
Again, as well, rich white people, you know, she could have died in many ways on that roof, but they were just gone, oh yeah, she just fell. She was doing some midnight maintenance. But again, because the documentary makes it look like it's, 2:00 in the morning, there's mist on the ground, and she's like wearing a floaty white nightie, she just falls off the roof in some sort of melodramatic
almost
kind of
like
way.
martyrs the situation.
Yeah, which we don't obviously know, but we saw what he said about it. But then
the brother, Douglas, who goes on to inherit the family business from his dad.
And that was Seymour, wasn't it? Seymour.
The dad's Seymour, and then the brother Douglas.
Gotcha.
He insists that none of them were in the house that night. None of the kids were. And they were at a neighbour's house because she was having an episode. The dad went, no, you have to leave. And he said,
send the kids away, let me deal with this sort of thing.
Douglas says that none of the kids were there, and it's all a fabrication, and that he's just using it as an attempt to blame those events and his dad for what he turned out to be, which is a
sounds logical.
Yeah,
like it's
a great guy.
Yeah, it sounds
JJ's
logical.
best guy.
Yeah,
I fucking love him. I absolutely love the guy. It's just nothing behind his eyes.
So that's why he's blinking so hard.
Yeah. But again, when you talk about that, the fact that there were no kids in the house and she was having an episode, but then the family said she fell. What kind of episode was she having? Again, was she wanting to fix the TV aerial?
At
It was the
1950s. In the
1950s.
morning.
She's having
Wearing a white
rod
dress.
hole.
What a fucking idiot.
She's doing a
Like-
rod hole.
So for like listeners and viewers, what had occurred is obviously, as you heard, I forgot his fucking name for a second there. Like
Bernice. Sorry.
No.
Robert.
Robert had witnessed, allegedly, but yeah, Robert Durst had witnessed his mother committing suicide, allegedly, or jumping off of the roof of their house. But the brother was saying that nobody was in the house, and it was probably a case of domestic violence, and possibly the father had murdered the mother. Already, it sounds like the family is being fucking bizarre and almost covering up for each other, like they're all got some sociopathic tendencies about themselves.
I was going to say as well, the thing is, if you imagine, like, just a theory, Robert Durst is the person who did see his dad kill the mother, and that's why he's the black sheep of the family, because you're a multi-billionaire, where's the money going to go? Because if it's a profit of crime, well, not a profit of crime, but if he goes into prison, I'm not sure how that... We were talking about it last week.
There's no
I'm not sure how that...
There's no rightful heirs at the time, but I think the rest of the family, like the Durst family, were like, it wasn't just Seymour on his own; it was his granddad, so Seymour's dad and brothers as well. So the whole family has been involved for like 100 years. Like I think the company's been going for 115 years now. So
even more of a reason to keep the legacy alive, like But I mean, again, I'm gonna say what my mum usually says to me: not everything's a conspiracy, Joe, but I don't know. There's just something
it's
really
JJ,
fishy about
man.
that.
Call me JJ. Call me Joe.
Face. But what's interesting with the documentary, when they're talking about that particular incident, it seems rather sort of pushed away very quickly. Yeah. And
I think it's one of those family secret kind of things that that rich families have, that like skeletons in the closet.
Yeah, and do you think therefore that who they were at the time when the police turned up, that maybe Seymour was probably like, excuse me, Superintendent, she just jumped off the roof.
No, she fell.
What? Oh, she
no
fell off.
suicide.
Well, no, or she jumped, or she fell off the roof.
Yeah.
What's your account number and sort code, by the way?
Yeah.
Like, do you reckon it was possibly a situation like that? Because in the documentary, they just kind of like, oh, she just jumped off the building. But to me, it sounds like, so if Robert's sitting there saying, but I saw it, and then Douglas, the brother's sitting again, nobody was fucking there. I kind of want to hear the actual official verdict from the police. Like, that doesn't seem to have been answered. Like, it's like, oh, she just jumped off the fucking roof at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think if you fell off a roof, it's all a Hollywood thing. On the Jinx, the house looks like a nice country manor.
Like a cottage almost.
Don't think you'd fucking die falling off it.
You
like,
she jumped.
Yeah.
No,
you hurt yourself.
She fell. She jumped, dove off like head first. That's why she died.
She fell head first off.
But
again, why was she on the fucking roof?
She left the roof.
Right.
For some reason, she left the roof, but the direction she was heading in was down and head first.
I still think it's fucking odd. Like, that's one glaring thing that stood out to me. And I think that's alone is something that could answer a lot of questions as to why Robert Durst is the way he is today. So moving at that, Ben, you've got a timeline, haven't you? Moving on from where the mother had initially killed themselves and killed herself, or whatever the domestic situation that had occurred, where does the story of Robert continue from there on?
You don't really hear much about Robert now until the 70s.
Right, so that's a big
He did the whole college. He did the college run
loads
and went.
of weed. Turned into a bit of a hippie. Left the family business. He didn't want anything to do with it. He wanted to be free, and he's that so he went be free, this hippie lifestyle.
Now at the time, it sounds like this is a person that doesn't have the sociopathic tendencies as far as I'm concerned, an incredibly wealthy, powerful family would have. Like, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of those people that are in those positions need to have cold-hearted, blunt tendencies. And to have someone like him,
they might have been there.
I'm just going to walk away from this billion-dollar fucking family that's going to completely keep me safe my entire life. I'm done with this. Like, that
in the Jinx, he mentions that. He says he wanted to make his own way in life. He said he didn't want to rely on his family and stuff like that. Again, which I think maybe you were touching on, it was like a thing where you would, you resent your father that much that you don't want his money. He's a multi-millionaire,
right.
and he's just like, nah, billionaire. So, he's trying to push.
Yeah. At that period of time, that's absurd money.
So there were,
because I think he went to I think in Jinx, does he talk about it? I can't find anything on the timelines about it, but he went to just like a state high, like a polytechnic university. He didn't go anywhere special.
Lehigh, I think Lehigh University.
But he was considered quite a high academic, but didn't push himself. All his tutors said that he was like at the level where if he applied himself, he would be at the top. Yeah. But I think he mentions in an interview somewhere where he's just like, I didn't want to be like that. And that's what I like about him. He's just like, he seems so like, not bothered about it. Like, I love that. People don't just like him because of his money. They like him because he's good at doing stuff, but he's trying his hardest not to be good. He's just like, and this is where my thoughts on this all comes into play.
There's in 1953, just before we crack on to like that part of his life, the uni, but he had a psychiatrist report on him at 10 years old, and they said he had severe personality decomposition and possibly even schizophrenia at 10.
Oh, at what age? At what
10.
age?
At 10. Do you know what? But that is. There's definitely that comes into play later on. Like, you can tell that the schizophrenia comes into play, and I think because he was a loner at university. They said he got a bachelor's degree in economics, and then he went to do a doctoral program in LA, and then he met Susan Berman, his lifelong friend until she met her demise. And he just dropped.
We'll get to that.
He just quit and went to New York, and then that's it. And then he went to work. He went to work with his dad, like he gave up on that university thing and just went back and then joined the family business.
That sounds pretty sort of almost like bipolar in the sense of, oh, I'm going to go and do this. Like, I don't want anything to do with the family. And when it turns out he's probably done everything that he wanted to achieve. Oh, I've partied, I've smoked weed, I've had threesomes and group sex and done this and done that.
Well, this is at university, so I don't know if he had done that yet.
Right.
But then, because he disappeared, he leaves again the family business, or he doesn't leave the business, he just stops going to work.
Oh yeah, of course, yes.
He just stops going to work and just becomes a hippie in Vermont.
I love it. Fucking love this guy. Love him.
So he at the age of 10, we've then had him diagnosed as schizophrenic, split personality disorder. Was that correct? Sorry, did you mention
schizophrenia, personality decomposition, and
decomposition.
Yeah,
sorry, right.
And obviously throughout their childhood, him and his younger brother Douglas had an immense sibling rivalry, like crazy. Yeah. It was crazy, like. But Douglas was like bigger than the younger brother. The older brother than Robert. Douglas was bigger than Robert, and he used to impose his strength upon him, and it was always like the more powerful the brothers.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's left university. He's gone back to work for the family business.
And so he's gone back to work for the family business. At what point does it then get to where Kathleen, his first wife, and I guess the bump in the Robert Durst road first occurs?
In 1971, he meets Kathleen McCormack.
That's it, McCormack, yeah. Funny that, Kenny McCormack. I wonder if they took the name from there. Sorry, it's a little bit dark, but just because she's dead.
I mean, it's very obscure reference. But
Spoiler alert.
Well, no, we don't know. They never found the body.
Right, that's that's kind of
exactly.
It. So,
yeah.
Because he ate her.
So you've got the timeline there as well.
Yeah, and then 2 weeks after they met, she moves in with him.
That's fucking sudden. Like rather.
No, not 2 weeks.
Yeah. 2 weeks after 2 dates, he invited McCormack to share his home in Vermont, where he had opened a health food store. She moved there in January 1972.
That's it, yeah.
So they must have met late in 71. I haven't got a time stamp for the month.
Yeah, because I do remember them going back, and that Robert was saying that he wanted to open his own fruit business or fruit and veg business.
Health food thing.
Bizarre and rather specific. But from what I remember and recall from the documentary, The Jinx, they were quite sort of the very, I guess, happy couple. Like, they seemed quite, I don't know, in love
for a
like,
time,
from the get-go. And,
whatever love is.
Whatever love is. But she was in the medical field. Was she?
She was, yeah, when they met, she was a dental assistant.
Hygienist.
And she'd gone back to university to become to be a doctor. And then
which apparently he encouraged her to do, even though he was very much about his health food store and all that shit. He encouraged her. He wanted her to do that, and she was more all about having this little bubble home life whole food store and stuff like that.
But one of the main things that he said to her before they got married is he never wanted to have kids. Like, he was going to be a terrible father, and he didn't want to have kids. And as long as she was okay with that, then they could get married. And she agreed.
Which I'm not sure if you're aware, but that is quite a common trait with people who have personality disorders. They very much against having children.
Well, it's like don't want responsibilities.
Yeah, I know quite a few people who have like dissociative disorders and stuff like that, and they're all very much against, like, you know, not everybody. You know, I know there's people who don't want to have kids, but there is also like that it runs with a thing there. Yeah, well, like
if Rachel disappears.
I've got 2 of them, and Dean, You're right.
I don't want kids. I know. I'm a good uncle, but I just don't want.
That's the best place to be. Is the good uncle, man.
It is.
Yeah.
Don't be a dirty
Wind
uncle.
them up.
Uncle.
Completely wind them up. Make them.
Yeah, don't be a dirty uncle. Be a good one.
Wind them up.
That's a right tagline.
Work them up into a frenzy and then send them
and then
to
throw
their
them
parents.
back to the parents.
Yeah.
But another interesting trait that I noticed with Robert when he was mentioning, when in the documentary he was talking about that he had mentioned to Kathleen that he didn't want it, but if they were going to tie the knot, he didn't want kids, and a few little not rules, but I guess like stopping points to a degree. And one thing that he did mention was that he didn't really like her family at all.
Oh yeah,
like,
he did
that
not.
that segment was like fucking crazy listening to it.
See, I'm gonna have to agree with him on these kind of facts, right? Because it's not the not liking. I don't think he didn't not like them. He just didn't give a fuck. He just didn't give a fuck.
And
and I kind of get. I know how he feels. There's people I meet, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck if you exist, and it's so harsh. But I genuinely like going, oh wow, these people aren't my people. And I'm with him on that. It's that kind of like, oh great, it's like a family of people that I just don't want to know. Like
because he was the way he put it, he was like, I have to entertain them. I have to talk to them.
It's very snobby though, isn't he?
Yeah, it was really. It's like why should I need to?
Commoners.
He was kind of talking from a third-person perspective, like Robert, I have to, and he brought up a subject that he was talking to his mother-in-law with. He was like, I need to talk about something. He was like, I have no interest in this. And I remember hearing that and just being like, fuck, dude.
Mate, I'm with him.
Oh,
I'm totally with him on that though. I'm like, sometimes you talk about something like, I'd rather just not talk. Like,
yeah.
I get that feeling that he has.
Yep.
And I totally understand him. And I'm like, oh, I'm starting to empathise with this murderer. Oh, JJ's gone.
JJ's gone. Oh no, he's had enough. It's because we're anti-Robert, innit?
Yeah,
we don't like his Durst buddy. But it's.
I'll invite him back in when he gets.
It's. I do understand that, but that to me was just like, well, if you really like, there are obviously things that I don't like talking to people about, but if I'm associated with them, I'll make a point, and I think everyone should try and make a point. You might be able to sit there and be like, get out of the conversation and just be like, I really didn't enjoy that. Fuck me, that's
definitely not one of those. I know the feeling because it's like you're in the pub and someone you've known for like 13 years or 14 years, like a long time, comes and you're like, oh, fuck's sake, they're coming over to talk to
we're
me.
going to be talking about this,
and they're going to bring up like one thing that happened like 13 years ago. You're like, great, you've literally done nothing more with your life.
Right, we laughed about that 5 times prior.
Yeah, so you're just going to come back in and go and start talking about like something we've done 1,000 times. Where did you go?
My internet
JJ's
went
back,
off.
listeners.
Oh, right. So it's back now.
Yeah. And we thought you left us because we were anti-Durst.
Yeah, I thought you were like, oh, Durst is the best.
Sorry, carry on, Ben.
I don't think
the internet's going mental. Hang on.
It's all right. You're
sorry.
Connection's quite good now.
No, you two. I can't. You were just like glitching out the matrix.
Right, okay.
I think we're all right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Dean was just a bit.
No, he was doing that.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah,
talking like this, like a robot.
Yes.
I love my soundboard.
I love your soundboard.
I'm glad that it's hooked up and part of the podcast now. It's really added an extra level of production to this.
That's it, exactly. We're professional to a degree. But JJ, we were talking about how resentful and very short-tempered Robert was when it came to him talking to his in-laws and even entertaining his
Absolutely love it. I love the part that I love the most is the family photograph where they're all obviously having a really nice Christmas, and then he's like sunk back into the sofa, literally just planning the demise of all of them, just
trying to get in between the two cushions, just like discreet
it's so
as possible.
Funny. It's just like, you know when Robin Williams does that impression of a hot dog. It's like that. It's just so far back. But I mean, yeah. I mean, I cut out just as Ben was talking about how he gets it.
I just get it. I get that feeling of like being forced to be around people that you don't particularly have any interest in. Like that for me is like not just family, like people in general. Like I get that feeling and I understand why he would be like, but because he's so used to getting what he wants and he's rich and like there's no need to be nice because he's not. None of these people can give him anything or are worth anything to him.
I don't see it like that.
I don't see it like schizophrenic psychopath.
But I see it the way Ben does. I can see that he's had that blueprint of life cemented into him. Even if his attitude is different to his family members, he has that God complex.
I don't get him like that character though. I mean, obviously I've only seen the same 6 hours that you guys have seen, but I kind of get this, like, I know loads of people who are like that. And it's taken them like a long time to become like that. But then I know people who are like that who've always been like that. And they're not well, hopefully they're not murderers. But they're not. They just really don't care about, like, genuinely don't care about what anyone else thinks about them. Which I think is a fantastic trait. I think if I'd have had that trait a lot younger, I'd have been probably a much better person than I am. Not a much better person, but I'd definitely
much worse person.
More successful.
I just think I'd definitely have, like, done a lot more things that I wanted to do rather than wasting time on things that I didn't.
I've never given a fuck, really, and I've always just done what
I can fucking vouch for that. I don't know if JJ's known you longer than I've known you.
You've known me.
No.
I've known you longer.
I've always
thank fuck.
Just do. I guess it's that kind of like do what you want attitude, which is like do what you want. Do what I want. But there's do what you want, be friendly, and then there's do what you want and not give a fuck about anyone else and just be horrible. I think that's
he's one of the horrible ones.
Yeah. I think but it's got a lot to do with having infinite money and not having to really work for it. Like you can just go, oh, I'm not gonna do anything. It doesn't matter.
I don't need to associate. Yeah, what's that? I don't need to. What's that? Her family don't like me, and I don't have to. Oh, don't worry. I'll just get rid of her, and because I've got a shit ton of money, I'll find another beautiful girl, and I'll see how that goes.
And by get rid of her, he literally means
so.
Get rid of her.
This is now leading. Like at this point in the documentary, I was sitting there and, like, to be honest, I was like, yeah, it does sound like he's had a wicked shit upbringing. But then when it started moving, when he's obviously met Kathleen and it's going on about them courting and their build-up of a relationship, that it was at this point where I was sitting there going, he really does sound like a nasty fucker. Or he's got the possibility or the capability of being a nasty fucker.
The problem with the documentary is that all those anecdotal sort of things about him being horrible and him being a rapey kind of horrible beater of women.
Creep.
Yeah. That's all
anecdotal. All from her female friends.
Yeah. Like, so you're like, but then he does admit, like, he goes, well, I beat her once or twice.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. I do. I did sling a fist once.
But yeah, it's all.
Or it was a pushing and shoving and falling.
He's not.
So you did have a row.
Yeah, he's not made the friends like him. Like the friends are all against him anyway. So whatever happens to her, they're always going to be like, it was probably Robert.
Yeah.
Because of the way he was. If he'd just been slightly nicer to everyone, they probably wouldn't have thought that he'd killed her.
No, I can agree with that.
But then the flip side to that is the guy is honest and he's just like, he's not like, I tried to get along with him. He doesn't even say it. He literally doesn't care. He's just like, and he just kind of literally goes, those guys. Like, that's what I like about him.
And it was
like,
it was that comment where he just sits there and says, I have to talk about that. I don't have any interest in whatever the topic was that they were talking about. I didn't even know what it was.
He's so good.
He was just like, I have no interest in that. Why do I have to? I've got to talk. Like, it was just like, whoa, fuck me. Sorry, mate. Like, 25 or an hour or two out of your life, and you've got to decide.
Exactly, like, and he approaches a production company to do a documentary about
yeah,
him.
how
And he's just like, oh, I
funny.
have to talk about that bit. I mean,
Yeah.
what part does he want to talk about? Because none of it's like, woo! None of it's like amazing, is it? It's not like, you're not going to talk about the time that I fucking tightrope walked between two buildings. Actually, you didn't do that. You did fuck all. Yeah, oh, that bit.
Oh. So,
I think he just wants to talk about the time where he put a wig on.
oh, we'll get
Which we'll
to
get
that.
onto,
I almost
yeah.
forgot about that.
That bit's crazy.
So
Yeah.
we're now probably coming up to the part where the first bump in the road really occurs. So Ben, I think, has still got the timeline there. What was it
Kathleen
that
broke
yeah.
the rules. That's what happened.
she broke the rules? Okay.
She broke the main rule.
Yep.
She got pregnant.
Prego!
She got pregnant, and
Fucking up the duff.
he did say, "Don't get pregnant."
Yeah, she pregnancy test said positive. She then approached him saying that, well, I want to keep the baby because it's my body. And I think, didn't he say something like, it's not just your baby, or something like that?
He
Didn't
said,
make the threat, like-
he said basically, he goes, "You knew the rules.
Yep.
That baby's going."
No baby. No baby. Yep.
That
No baby.
that in there. Get that out. Get it.
Going out
Terminate
the-
it. Terminate it.
Dominated.
That
So-
then led to what I believe was her friends in the documentary that they were referring to, like the domestic sort of abuse, because I imagine that at that time as well, it wasn't really, what's the word? It was still fringe politics that a woman was in charge of her body.
Well, in America, it's still fringe politics.
Well, yeah, that's what. No, but it was even more so. Like back then, it was almost no question. Husband makes the decision, sort of.
Yeah.
Just a quick one here. I don't know if you've seen this, but one of you two will have to explain what this means. She considers divorce, but is hamstrung by an unfair prenup. Why would he have a prenup with her if he's...
Because he's rich. Rich people get prenups, baby.
They do all the time.
But
Rich
she's...
people get
So what,
prenups, baby.
she's hamstrung by the fact that her side of the prenup is unfair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it doesn't explain that.
She does eventually like start getting a divorce, but I think at
Yes.
this time she's like, I can't afford to go to medical school without him. I think it's the
And it also does say that both of them were having affairs.
Right.
Okay.
And we know that is not good for relationships.
no. At least
So-
they're both equal in it.
So now
yeah.
it gets to where Kathleen, or the main bump in the road with the story. So don't they organise to go on vacation to try and fix the relationship or to discuss the situation? And they go to the country home by the river. Am I correct in
They go to
remembering?
in Salem, yeah.
That's it, in Salem. So the story goes, or at least Robert's account of what occurs, is they arrange to have a week away or a weekend. I can't remember how long originally, although it was going to be, that they were going to stay in this family property in Salem that is a beautiful country sort of like house that backs onto like a lake or a river or whatever you want to call it.
Perfect place. It backs them to somewhere perfect to bury a body. is
To
what it
dump a
backs them to.
body, right? Yeah. And so how it goes is they have a huge argument. Kathleen then wants to go. She says she wants to go back to New York.
Yeah, she goes to a party.
Sorry, that's it. Yes,
She goes to a
beforehand,
party
yeah.
at her friend's house, gets fucking
Wasted.
wasted on
Allegedly.
cocaine and
Cocaine.
booze, and then she drives the car back to the house, and then
Perfect
that's
time.
and then obviously that that party was the last time anyone other than Robert Durst saw her alive.
And it was her friends that were convincing her that she needs to go back to New York and continue her medical school.
And she said and then she left the party because she obviously off
Yeah.
her tits on coke and booze. She's got, that's it. I'm gonna go and do it. I'm gonna go and divorce him right now. And gets in the
So-
car.
Gets in the car. I'm gonna fucking
And because
do this.
Robert Durst is such a nice guy, he offers to take her to the train station, which I think you guys keep forgetting about.
Well, no, we were just about to
Which
get
is
to
the
that.
last time that she was seen
She didn't even get
by
to
Robert Durst.
She
Yeah.
gets back to the house.
Yeah.
An argument unfolds, and it's settled by Robert's account that she wants to go back to New York and continue. Her
Take me
studies.
back to New York, Robert. I can't be here anymore.
So they have a tussle, a little kerfuffle of what's going on. Then he agrees to drive her to the train station.
No, she tries to take the car, and he says, "No, you're drunk.
Because she's.
I'll drive you to the train station," because he's such a nice guy.
Such
Exactly.
a bloody lovely.
Yeah, no, JJ's right. There are some really nice parts about Robert,
Yeah.
especially
So
the
long
ones
as-
that he makes up.
I'd have been
So
like,
long as
get
I
a
don't have
fucking
to talk
taxi,
to your
you fuck.
mother-in-law
Take the car, then. I don't care. I'm bloody loaded. I can buy 6 more tomorrow. You
So yeah,
fuck.
he takes her to the train station, and at that point is the last time Kathleen is ever seen again. She gets on the train, she goes to New York. She allegedly calls in sick on the Monday to her university or college.
Yeah, and apparently the doorman at their Manhattan home saw her, and she called Robert, or Robert called her from a payphone.
That's it. Yeah.
Apparently.
Apparently, to make sure she was home safe.
Make sure it's home safe, and then
And she
Great guy.
She confirmed that she was, and then on the morning of Monday, where her university talks or where she goes
someone
to
called
school,
the dean of the university. She called the dean of the university, not her tutors or anyone. So the headmaster.
the head honcho.
Who were the, so that's already very suspicious because she was already dead. But someone female called.
Yes, yeah, straight. Someone female. We'll
Called
hold on to that.
Called the dean of the university to say that she had a dicky tummy. she wouldn't be.
Got the black well known for it.
Hi, this is Kathleen McCormack, and I'm not coming today in the world.
I've got a Columbia.
Michael Jackson.
Right, yeah. So, body number one gotten rid of, or at least girlfriend.
Whoa. Nobody has
body.
been found.
Never found the body, mate. No,
Never
bodies.
found a body.
And still to
so
this day-
stop slagging him off, all right? He ate her. He cooked her with a nice
I think he ate her.
Chianti.
I think he ate her.
Oh, come on, like if you guys
He
believe the
never
fact
ate
that-
her. He never ate
Nah.
her. He's a lovely man.
She's definitely in the river, isn't she? In the pond, the giant pond in the garden, if that's what you believe. Because apparently it took
She has to
police
be.
a year to search that massive river.
That's what got me, is the fact that they went to the property and it was like, oh, your missus has just disappeared. Like, and to listen to that story, like that
story
is
that
allegedly
changes a
true
lot,
from
yeah.
him. I don't.
I think it was a
understand-
year.
Yeah, I don't
So
understand.
Well, they
how
didn't
the-
believe. They didn't think that they thought she was missing. They genuinely.
Yeah.
The police. He did. I mean, you listen to the story.
They genuinely thought she was missing.
Like you listen to the story, you're like, maybe she's missing, and then
It's
like
just-
they didn't investigate it because they were like, oh yeah,
No.
he's reported her missing. Why would he report her missing if he killed her? And
that's
obviously,
Yeah.
what was also interesting is that when he went to money. But one thing that
she's
was-
missing, officer. Here's
Yeah.
a check
But
of
what's
a couple
also
of years'
interesting
wages.
is that they mentioned that he didn't arrive at the police station in a car, or the car that he had dropped off. And I remember hearing that and being like, smart fucker. Because immediately, I'm pretty sure this guy's reporting that his wife has gone missing. What car is he driving? Because obviously they're going to want to search the car for whatever reason. But they didn't. And that they were saying that the police department, he was like, yeah, we never thought to like look in the car or anything because he didn't arrive in it. And I was like, what shoddy fucking police work.
Yeah, they didn't,
really?
they didn't report it for. So they didn't even start looking for her.
It's fucking absurd.
I think one of the best parts of the police report is that the first thing he said was, I went to my neighbour's house for a drink and then I went to bed. And they didn't interview the neighbour for about 6 months afterwards. And the guy was like, Nah, I don't think I've ever had a drink with him.
I've never had a conversation with him.
Let alone a drink that night. I don't think I've ever had a drink with him because I hate him. He's an arsehole.
Yeah.
Like, why? This is what makes me think that he is like...
What, wrong place, wrong time person?
No, he's a fucking psychopath. He's schizophrenic.
Because he's just like, why haven't the police arrested him? Like,
they have.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well,
there's no evidence because there's no body. No body, no crime.
So, how long after...
Is that a Bob Marley song?
Yeah.
No woman, no crime. Fucking zinger. So yeah, he's reported Kathleen being missing. A year after is when the police then begin to start searching the house. Is that correct? Because I know that they went to the cottage and they were like, because they then speak to a woman that now owns or obviously lives in the house, and the police then is this a year after or a little further after Kathleen's disappearance?
After the disappearance, it goes to it's like maybe 3 or 4 months. I'm just reading bits here. So good.
Go on.
They found like multiple belongings of hers just in the bin.
Yeah.
So he's like,
Robert's
just gone. Oh well, she's gone now. I just might as well burn everything. Get rid of it all.
Her friends were going around. Obviously, like the police weren't doing an investigation. So her friends started because she told her friends, if anything ever happens to me, it's Robert. Like they were like, it's Robert. And so they were like, "Whoa, she wouldn't just go missing." The last thing they know, she was going to divorce him, and then they'd never seen him again. Like she left the building.
All her friends said that. Like,
but then they said that they were driving past the house, and there'd be like boxes of her stuff just on the street.
I like how
like
he's
four
really
months.
my wife comes back, I'm just gonna fucking swing all
4
of her
months,
belongings
and he
in
was
the
just
lake.
throwing her stuff. No, just on the street for the bin men.
Who does that? But
Another thing as well.
Is that person that's trying to be like, well, if I actually just burn everything and then I don't have the belongings to be like, oh no, like I just put them on the fucking front like yard to be gotten rid of. Is that him thinking, I'm going to play this down as an innocent person. There's no harm in me just putting evidence out on the fucking sidewalk.
It wasn't just and
I'm innocent.
Sorry.
So the superintendent at the apartment in Manhattan had also found.
This is what I just read.
he was just putting a rut of stuff in the trash compactor. He's just throwing it away. It's just like she's definitely not coming back. Like,
and later the same doorman admits that when he saw Kathy the night that apparently she'd got back to New York, he said it was from behind and it was from a great distance.
Yeah, he might
not have even seen her.
He didn't even see her. He said there's another interview with him later on that's going like, he goes, I don't even know if it was her. It could have been anyone.
Yeah, it does say I only saw Kathy from behind and from a distance, despite Durst's claims that he spoke to his wife from a payphone. I was just like, well,
yeah, but that's
irrelevant. That's your false testimony, man. You slowed the investigation down because you said that you saw her. You didn't.
No, but she didn't know.
And even if you did, it was from a distance.
He never told the police that he'd seen her. He told Robert Durst that he thought he'd seen her, and Robert Durst then told the police.
Well, still, Robert Durst isn't the liar there. This is what I'm saying. Real good guy.
Robert Durst knew that she never got there.
How do you know that? Robert Durst it might have been the other part of his brain. It might have been the non-schizophrenic part might have fucking murdered her. Yeah.
I don't like that. Also, he offered a $100,000 reward, and then like a couple of months later, reduced it to $15,000.
No, that's a fucking drop off.
If you know she's not coming back, put it up.
There's a bigger drop off than my GameStop stocks. Fuck me.
It's not bigger than mine.
I must have missed that bit.
Yeah.
I told you need to get his stocks in Atlantic Galactic, or whatever it's called.
Virgin
Galactic, yeah.
If you knew that she wasn't coming back, why not raise that? I'm with JJ again now. I'm like, he's definitely got. Oh, she's on her way back. I better lower it.
Nah,
She's on her way back. Oh, fuck her.
That whole kind of like, it's that whole breakup thing where it's like straight away it's like, oh God, I'd do anything to get back with her, and then it gets further and further away from it, and he's like, now he's probably offering like a couple of quid. Or probably not. He's probably offering a packet of cigarettes if he's still in prison or whatever, but I don't even know where he is, to be honest. But yeah, I genuinely feel he's got the, because I still feel that he's got this kind of, I don't know, this kind of like weird destiny dynasty kind of vibe going on. Like maybe his family didn't think that a bit like the royal family thing. Like they don't believe that she's the
they
one,
loved
you know.
her. No,
so
they loved her. The family loved her.
But they're gonna fucking say that, aren't they?
They knew that he'd done something, so they couldn't help the family. But
But they're gonna say that.
But Seymour,
The royal family had probably said that about Diana. They still say shit about her now. Where they're like,
they've never said they liked her. They've never. Seymour said, "Look, she's my daughter too, but I can't help you." In that almost like admitting that like there's nothing you can, no one can help you.
Yeah, this is
I think
we've covered it up.
That's something that a rich family do a lot of. Like,
well,
it's only a daughter.
Like, it does sound like that they really segregated him though, in the sense of that possibly the family were like, well, something's fucking up here, and it wouldn't surprise us.
They
if
did their
Robert
own
did this.
investigation.
We're just going to say, this is Robert's issue. It's nothing to do with us. Yeah, she was a lovely girl. We're out of this. It's nothing to do with us. Like, to me, that sounds like a logical escape for a very fucking big business family that they technically do not need to get involved in.
Well, they did.
Really?
They hired a private investigator.
Oh, they did?
To find out what had happened to her, and they realised that Robert was like there's a whole
That
part
was
of the documentary.
what's her name? That Janine? No, is it? What was her? She was the political woman. Is the politician? Is that correct? Who that was?
No, that was later on. That was later
right.
on. That was later on when it. But yeah, the company had done an investigation into what was happening, what had happened, and they were like, well, that's why they said they couldn't help you, because they couldn't then go, yeah, our son has killed your daughter or your sister.
Right. Yeah.
They just had to go, there's nothing we can do to help you. That's the way I saw it. It was that the reason they refused to help, why Seymour said, look, she's my daughter too. Like, I like her, but there's nothing I can do to help. That's what he said. He's like, there's nothing I can do to help. Like, almost like he's like, he knows, but he can't say it. That's what I got from it.
I just fail to see how a rich family could make a massive, huge connection with those people, especially when they immediately moved into where her family were from. So everything was in Vermont, which I'm not sure where Vermont is in terms of New York. All right, granted, he's rich and he can fly around wherever he fucking wants, but the timeline doesn't seem like he would have introduced her to his family to keep a strong connection.
They lived in Manhattan and Vermont.
Yeah, they kept going. Yeah. They kept. Yeah, I just don't.
But I'm pretty sure, like throughout the whole thing, it was like they were like everyone loved Kathleen. Like everyone who met her, like instantly.
She was a very attractive woman.
Yeah.
Beautiful woman, and she just
they always say this shit about dead people, though, don't they? They're always just like, they're never like, oh, Kathleen was a cunt, because she's dead. You can't say that.
No, she was only pronounced dead in 2016.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so
which is strange because she still hasn't been found at all.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a pretty pessimistic outlook, if you ask me.
I wonder if they will find a body. Imagine if they found her, she's a really old lady.
Yeah. Oh, Robert Durst. Yeah, we just had a bit of an argument, and one night I decided to leave, and he paid for everything for me.
Yeah.
She had such a drastic coke binge that she turned into a mute, and now she just doesn't talk to people.
We'll get onto mutes later, won't we?
Oh shit! Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Right. Where are we now in the timeline?
So
I'm on like 983.
Yeah, he's put out the thing. He's like, he's removed her name from the joint bank account. He's refused to pay the medical school tuition and stuff. He's cancelled everything, and she's disappeared. All that shit's happened. He's lowered the reward to 15 grand.
And after a period of mourning in which he retreated inside himself, Durst returns to work at his family's company. That's in 983. So that's like a year later.
Yeah. But this time he's already refused. He's already been overlooked to take over the business, and his younger brother Douglas is taking over the business. Oh, when does that happen?
Because his dad said there was too much.
No, that's not till 1992. Sorry, it has not been overlooked yet.
Yeah. Let me just have a look.
Yeah. He's not.
That's me pretending to have a look. Just for anyone listening, I was just sharing a bit of a timeline.
So obviously he's gone back to work, but he's not really working. He's just he's working there. He's just
and not really a lot happens, does it? He goes on a couple of dates.
He doesn't really do much. It's like he kind of disappears into like working life, like just like moving around, going from house to house that he owns around the country, and
as these two skeptics could say, probably he's got his fix for now. He's killed one. He's just waiting for his next victim. But I'm just like, he's just trying to get on with life, like the good guy that he is. He's trying to retain a normal life. Starts going out on a date with some real estate woman. Don't know who she is.
Is this where we're now leading to where he goes to California?
Not quite yet.
No, he doesn't go.
He has a bit of a. From what I read on a website, he had a bit of a breakdown. They said, again, like you said, Ben, not showing up to work, not looking after himself, started growing a beard and whatnot, and looking very rugged. And then people said that this is again from an outside point of view, because no one tells a story like Robert Durst. Tells stories, which if you watch The Jinx, which I would highly suggest everyone does,
you have to now.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's a really.
But I would say if you haven't watched it, you should probably like cut in and out of this podcast. Yeah, because every episode was like, what the fuck?
So in 1990 is when he sells the South Salem cottage where she was last seen alive.
That's it. Yeah.
And he secretly divorces Kathy. Secretly divorces her, like on the sly, so no one, because she's dead. But
exactly. Yeah. He's gotten rid of all her shit.
Do you know the excuse for the divorce? That obviously you have to like write a reason for divorcing. Spousal abandonment. Like she'd abandoned him.
I don't think I've ever heard that term of phrase.
Spouse
abandonment.
Yeah, she left him.
That's fucked up that you have to give that for anybody who's having a divorce. You have to give a reason. Even if it's mutual, you have to like pick from a checkbox of reasons. Yeah. And it's like...
That's why it's always irreconcilable differences, isn't it? It's just like the most... what's it? Like
bland.
The broad term. Like,
bless you.
Sorry about that. I had to mute my mic as well because I knew it was going to be loud.
Anyone's just wondering why I'm saying bless you, Dean just sneezed.
And I had the decency.
It's so difficult because we do a visual and an audible podcast, so it's which audience do we appease to? Do I stay quiet and just presume that everyone thinks we've gone silent for a bit, or does everyone wonder what Dean's doing with his mouth?
So 1990 is the year he secretly divorces his wife. He moves into an Upper East Side apartment with that girl, with Deborah Lee Sheraton, which is the New York real estate broker. But the same year, they leave 9 months later because the neighborhood is stuffy. So I assume he's kind of like, he's probably stuffy, snooty a bit like. But I think what has happened is he's pissed off all his neighbors because.
Sorry, my internet's just a bit shit.
Yeah.
What I think's happened there is he's the shit neighbor that everyone hates, and he's just moved out.
I reckon so too.
Yeah, they're like stop being a fucking lunatic.
Yeah,
and then he's like, so stuffy here.
Stop being a weird cunt.
I don't like you hating on my boy Durst. It's not
he's
fair,
a murderer. He's a three to at least
cannibalistic murderer.
Possibly cannibalistic, definitely
Possibly.
murderer.
Allegedly. Got to throw that in there.
I love how you just, for some reason, just love Robert Durst, even though like,
there's
he's
just
admitted,
something about him that I think is just brilliant.
Killing people.
Yeah, but again, I know we haven't done a podcast on this, and we probably won't for a while now, but it's the same as a West Memphis Free. He's had to admit in court that he's done something.
No, he didn't admit in court. He did it into a hot mic.
No, because the hot mic isn't an admission.
Don't get to that just yet.
Exactly. It's not an admission, is it?
Don't get to that just yet.
No, but that's the reason they reopened the case, and he had to do 85 months in prison. Not to spoil it, but he did go to prison.
But let's get to that when we get to it.
Yeah.
So, right. Where are we now?
Right. So Durst is passed over in '94. This is when his younger brother Douglas is done. Like he gets the job, like the big job. And Robert is not happy. So the last straw, and the reason he got passed over, the last straw is because he pissed in his uncle's trash can.
Allegedly pissed. Allegedly.
I love that.
Yeah.
I like how I'm really fucked off that the business has been given to my actual business kind of personality strong brother and not my psychopathic, schizophrenic, hippie, drug-loving, oh dear, my last wife disappeared person instead. Yeah. Because you definitely sound capable of running one of the biggest businesses in New York.
He spends the next decade as a vagabond just traveling the country.
Who the fuck cares if somebody pisses in your dustbin? Like, who cares? It's your dustbin. What other fucking shit's in there?
It's a rich person's
This is what I mean
dustbin.
about. This is what I mean about rich people.
It's
like,
a
my
Samsonite
dustbin is your palace, you fuck. Like, fuck off.
You probably get some like upper class like bins and stuff if you're quite rich, like a Samsonite bin or something.
I remember when the Smoking Hearts left 6 litres of piss in my dustbin, and I didn't fucking tell them they can't be the heir to $1 million.
I've been passed over on owning a Waker Rice tattoo since. I would give you my tattoo business, but you left 6 litres of piss in my bin, in my garden.
In a very sturdy camping bag.
That probably wasn't the worst thing we left at your house.
Probably not. That house was a shithole, though. There was like worms coming out of the fucking woodwork. And we were on the second floor. How does that even happen? How does worms get upstairs?
I like that flat.
Shit story. Yeah, we watched Die Hard on the projector.
Yeah,
5 seconds.
Eating blood pizza.
Yeah, pizza. No, that was a different time, Ben.
Oh yeah,
that was when he came and filmed the fucking podcast, the video. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, he pissed in his bin. Big deal.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what's happened. Douglas has now taken the reins of the Durst enterprise, essentially. So obviously, Robert is going to be absolutely fucking fuming. And where
is he?
Pardon?
Or is he?
He's pretty pissed off.
I think he's pissed off.
He maintains his anger for the rest of his life. Like he threatens to kill Douglas on the regular, and he walks around and he stalks him, and he has to have a restraining order. So, think he's
it's very fucking bizarre.
Pissed off about it. And then so that that happens, and then 5 years later. After receiving a bogus tip about the location of a body, police in Westchester reopened the Kathy Durst case, this time as a possible homicide. They searched the Durst old cottage in South Salem as well as a nearby lake, but find nothing.
I was going to say, they because I remember watching the documentary, and they mentioned, or the house, the new house owner mentioned that the police had arrived and they wanted to search.
15 years later.
And that they found like an area of
that they didn't know existed,
that they didn't know about, and the documentary makes this huge thing about it. And I was like, they're blatantly going to fucking find bones in there or something. And then they just like,
didn't they find a handgun in there or something like that?
Yeah, there was a 22 pistol or something
in the crawl space. Yeah,
in the crawl space. And I was expecting something. They kind of blew. They really overemphasised this. Oh, there was this area in the house that I never knew existed, and showing all these really candid, sort of like creepy photos of like crime scene-esque photos, and it didn't fucking amount to anything. Oh, we found a pistol. I was like, oh, right. You could have fucking left that out, to be perfectly honest.
What we haven't mentioned is throughout this, Robert Durst is still very close with his friend that he met at university, Susan Berman.
Susan Berman, yes.
Yeah, so he's still friends with her. And
Susan Berman, though, let's touch on her in a moment.
So yeah,
she's significant as well because
she's
Susan
very
Berman.
significant.
Susan Berman was the daughter. Well, she grew up not actually realizing until she was around 11. I think was it 11 or 12 years? 12 years old.
That, yeah.
She grew up not realizing that her father was quite possibly one of the biggest and most notorious gangsters in New York.
Yeah, no, Las Vegas.
Oh, sorry, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Like one of the biggest fucking names of like the underground that could possibly have been spoken of at the time.
Yeah.
And she was friends with Robert Durst, and that sounds like almost like a match made.
Well, they
in
had
heaven.
a lot. They had a lot in common. Like they both lost their mums when they were seven. And they both didn't have very good relationships with their dads, and something else that linked them together. And they just got on really well, and they were like lifelong friends. I don't think they were ever like banging or anything.
No.
I think they were just mates.
just had a very, very strange kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know, almost like an Epstein and fucking Ghislaine
They were
Maxwell.
really close around the time that Kathleen disappeared.
Yes, yeah.
And all her friends were like, aren't you worried about her? Like, are you worried that she's like going to steal you, like Robert? And she's like, Susan? No, they're just really good friends. Like, there's definitely nothing going on there. But I think then that will lead us to, in August 2000, Susan Berman, short on cash and living Los Angeles, writes Durst a letter asking for money. Months later, he sends her a gift, 2 checks worth 25 grand each.
Now, where is Durst staying?
He's in at this point. I think he's in San Francisco.
He is in California because we're treading a little bit earlier. Treading a little bit further than where we are at the moment because I know that they were able to pin Durst being in California, not particularly in a particular location that we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
So Durst was sending money to Susan. What was it?
Berman.
Susan Berman.
Because
Susan Berman. She was trying to make
struggling
a
as a
career.
writer. Yeah, she was trying to be a
She was trying to make a
screenwriter.
career as a screenplay. None of them ever got picked up. She was living in like an apartment that the police had said looked kind of almost like it was a fucking dump.
Squat,
It was a mattress and like a computer desk and furniture that had been loaned to her from friends. But I don't know. Is there anything between?
No, not really. But she'd been telling friends that she had a big project that that's gonna change things for her.
And it was to do with the mafia, basically.
Yeah, she was writing a screenplay about her childhood and her dad.
Life and what she knew. Yeah,
and what she knew, and in the documentary, like the way they lead up to this, like going, oh, Susan, like they talk about Susan and like as a friend of Robert's, and then they say, oh, you know, she'd been writing this screenplay, and then suddenly she turns up dead one day.
Now,
execution.
That's what'll happen if you're a mobster's daughter.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. This is shot to the back of the head, isn't it?
Yeah. It's execution. Like, but everyone said that she wouldn't let anyone in her house she didn't know. She had locks all the way down the door. Like,
bolt locks, wasn't it?
But she'd also been telling everyone that Bobby was coming to visit this Christmas. Like, and she hadn't seen him in ages. Bobby's coming to visit.
And at the time, this Susan Berman, though, didn't she have something to do with an attorney or a politician back in New York that was going on? In the documentary, the woman that's in the red dress.
Yes, she was
right.
She was at the same time as when they reopened the Kathleen Durst case, and a lot of her Kathleen's friends said, "You need to talk to Susan. Susan will know, or Susan knows Rob probably better than anyone."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And I think what's happened is she's gone. The reason he sent her 2 checks, 25 grand, and she's probably no one's seen the letters that she sent to him. They've seen the letters that he sent back. But I think she was like going. She probably mentioned that the police were asking about it, I think.
Well,
that for me is the only reason why she get pop.
Right. So the reason that I believe so basically what has happened is Suzanne Berman was found in her house with a bullet wound to the back of the head.
Yeah, on like Christmas Eve
dead.
she was found.
On Christmas Eve, the door was left open. The Beverly Hills police had received a very strange coded letter that had been posted. Well, no,
coded. It just said cadaver.
It said the address and cadaver. So it's a weird letter anyway. Don't they believe it was post-dated the day before?
The day before she was found.
Right, the day before she was found. Now, the reason that I believe that JJ's boy most likely fucking had her offed is
offed her himself.
Offed her himself is because of the kind of people that they both were. She grew up in a mobster family, so she's going to hear language and meet people that, what's that? Oh, that Dave wants a body gotten rid of. Yeah, don't worry, go and speak to Bob, he'll get that done for you, sort of thing. All of these really sort of like seedy fucking things that I could imagine that a mobster daughter would intertwine with and be quite comfortable with kind of knowing information in that sense. It wouldn't surprise me if Robert had grown very, very close to her and been like, look, you're possibly the closest person I've met to the kind of personality that I have. Look, your family do fucking nasty shit. I do nasty shit. I killed my first wife, by the way, and she was probably about, oh, why'd you do that? Oh, because of this, because of that. I dumped her over there. And Susan was probably like, oh, that's pretty sad, but it sounds like you really did get away with it, or you covered up the body. Well done, Robert. Do you want a drink? Like, to me, it sounds like that they could converse in these kind of topics together. And the fact that then the Kathleen Durst case had been reopened and this attorney had been given a tip-off to go and speak to Susan, Robert, being the cold fucking person he is like, she's a connection that's connected to Kathleen Durst and myself. Fuck you, you're gone.
Well,
bang.
There was a lot of people skepticizing whether it's like noted or anything, but there was people skepticizing that she was probably, this was theories, going to start bribing him. So, i.e., start taking him. Whereas it like later on in the documentary, he talks that everyone talks about his generosity with her children, I think, and stuff.
Yeah.
Like him giving them, he builds a relationship with them.
Yeah, he sends her adopted son or stepson or whatever.
College tuition and
college
25 grand over 4 years. No, every year for 4 years, wasn't it? For college tuition. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a payoff.
It sounds like one of those things where, he can benefit from like what I thought you were going that way with that, Dean, but he can benefit from her history in the mob scene. Yep. Like he can find out how those guys got away with shit.
Yeah.
But just going on to that, in that meantime, we've skipped a few bits. Whether they're relevant or not, I don't know. But he actually married again.
Yeah,
and
she's a big part of the documentary.
And I don't even know what these two words are, but they are great. This is apparently how the rabbi described the wedding. Durst was rather taciturn. He was non-buoyant and didn't smile in their 15-minute ceremony. So that also sounds like maybe a money thing. I don't know.
Yeah, he needed someone he needed a power of attorney. She was instantly given power of attorney. Like he needed someone because he knew that. I think he knew that it was gonna. It
could have ended.
Yeah.
Also, shortly after that, on the 19th, Durst. I mean, this is a very biased timeline that I think we're all reading from here. But Durst flies from New York to San Francisco, then heads south. Destination unknown. 23rd of December, Durst flies back to New York from San Francisco.
Yeah.
Like, all right, they're factual. And then obviously now we're at the point where 23rd of December, 24th of December is when Berman is found dead. So it's very much like, I mean, people have made their minds up, haven't they? But what I struggle with, and this is the same with all of these cases that we've looked at. We are not the police. Like, the police must be hiding something because it took them so fucking long to do anything about it. Like, surely they weren't just building up this again as well. Like, if you go back to like mob,
though, isn't it? It's all like they have to get permission to do things. They can't just go and do stuff. They have to go, right, we need to go to out of jurisdiction to LA
Yeah.
to go and interview someone about a murder in Vermont
New
or
York.
in Connecticut.
Connecticut. Yeah.
So they can't just go there and talk to her. They have to get permission from the LAPD to do it, which is, again, police office police departments-
weeks time, months and
police
weeks.
aren't very good at communicating. The internet is only fresh in 2000.
It's very, very fucking. Yes.
Probably not every police department's on email at this point. They've had to send a letter, call people. No one's answering. You see it in every single serial killer documentary. Even the sheriffs don't talk to each other. So
yeah, you saw in Berman's in the photos of Berman's crime scene, in her office in the kitchen, it almost looked like she was still communicating almost via fax, and that was 2 years.
But again, this kind of vibe with the whole mob scene. Obviously, it's known history now, isn't it, that the mob were working a lot with the police.
Yeah.
I mean, this doesn't really tie in very much with this unless it's deeper than what we see, because we're only seeing, this is why I suggested it, because it was that underbelly that's kind of a bit weird, the whole rich mob,
crooked police.
That whole why it took so long, and it's very similar to the John Benet Ramsey one, who was getting paid off, why did things take so long? Obviously you've just explained there, Ben, with the jurisdictions, but it's very I mean, did you guys watch the Night Stalker documentary where they're talking about how...
Not finished that off just yet, no.
Theirs was a battle between jurisdictions, which is fucking even worse, because they were I don't want you to solve the crime, but you've got all the fucking... Whereas in this is an East Coast... I mean, it's not fucking Snoop Dogg and
Biggie.
Fucking Puff Daddy or whatever. Yeah. And that's Snoop Dogg and P. Diddy.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
You got that massively wrong, but...
Yeah, I don't know where the fucking...
Well, I've been trying. It was Biggie and Tupac.
Yeah. You know what I mean? The East Coast, West Coast thing. But this is it. It wasn't that. So I don't understand... again, I get communications, but they're not using fucking carrier pigeon. They've got phones.
No. Well,
the phones is as fast as the internet. It's live. It's real.
Yeah.
Well,
what and I guess phones and letters and stuff is what leads me to what ends up being one of the biggest bits of evidence in the whole thing is a letter was sent to the LAPD with the words cadaver and then Berman's address, and that came out. They'd already found the body by this point, because a neighbour had complained about the dogs barking, and then but it just said cadaver, and it said Beverly Hills, LAPD.
Beverly spelt wrong.
Beverly spelt wrong, which is pretty much is the smoking gun by the end of the.
Yeah. It's
just at this
piece
point.
Of evidence.
But they even say in the documentary, I think. I'm not I literally fanboy. I'm not a Richard Ramirez.
I love it that you're like this for this though, dude. I love it.
I feel we know how these fucking we don't know. This is the thing. We know how these elitists work.
Yeah,
we know how much power they have over manipulation of things we see.
Gone.
Without going without tinfoil hatting. But I literally see the front cover of Dookie by Green Day, and I see Robert Durst just sat in the middle, just what the fuck is going on around me? All this shit. And it's all pointing at me, but I genuinely think it's drove him mental. I know he's got schizophrenia, I know he's got personality disorder, but it seems all these things are just happening around him. He seems so I honestly have there's nothing
the unluckiest
there.
Man. Do you think
it's the schizophrenia, surely. That's got to be the schizophrenia.
Do you think he's a modern day Lechmere? My main culprit for the Jack the Ripper murders being quite possibly the unluckiest guy in Whitechapel at that time. Yeah. Are you saying he's possibly in the same situation?
No.
I don't agree. I don't agree. But
what you're doing, JJ, is probably you're explaining dissociative personality disorder, which is what he's got. Is that he probably does think all this stuff is just happening around him, but he ignoring the fact.
I missed all that. I've got really bad internet connection.
He's disassociative.
No, I literally missed all that. It just went nah.
All right, okay. So what I said was,
"Ma, Mama, I hate Robert Durst. Mama.
What I'm trying to say is you're explaining dissociative personality disorder by going, he is the ducky cover and he's in the middle and it's all just happening around him. But it's happening around him because he's causing it. But he's
I'm not saying it like that at all. Right. I genuinely do. There is something inside me feels that he hasn't done it. There's just something there.
You're wrong.
No, I'm not saying
I'm shocked.
I personally believe there is a very large percentage of me believes that he hasn't
done any of it.
No, I'm not saying he hasn't done any of it, which still makes him a murderer, I guess. But there's certain elements where I believe that it has spiraled. I don't believe everything that's being pinned on him.
Yeah.
And I thought the Jinx was a fantastic representation of that because I don't believe that it doesn't seem biased. It doesn't like you usually see these other documentaries in like this, the Making a Murderer one, very biased towards like Stephen Avery, like, oh, it's all about him being like redeemed or whatnot. Is it redeemed? I don't know what the word is, but and the Jinx, again, without spoiling it, it seems obviously as well to anyone who's like listening, we're kind of doing it in reverse, really, because it explains everything up to a point, doesn't it? Whereas we're doing it kind of the other way around. We're not doing it in time. We're doing it in chronological order.
Yeah.
Whereas they do it in that. I just feel that everything so far isn't him. And that's what I believe. I genuinely
don't think
don't.
that he murdered, that he had anything to do with the disappearance of Kathleen.
I don't think I do. Like I've watched The Jinx 3 times, like, because I'm so interested by him. I don't think he did where we're up to now. I don't think he had any involvement in it.
I just can't.
Bananas.
I can't see how you can't see the link before him.
And I am just being that guy.
He definitely wrote that letter that said cadaver.
Yes.
There is no way he did not write that letter that says cadaver.
That very long point that I just was about to think. Handwriting evidence doesn't stand up in court.
That's not handwriting evidence. That is just two exactly the same things. That's not. Even the spelling mistake is wrong.
You know, right? So you know, in the John Bonet one, she shows it to the woman, and the woman's just like, "Nah, that's not my handwriting." She shows it to him, and he's just like, "Well, I can see a small similarity." He isn't trying to deceive.
No, he is. He's shown that, right. So this is what we're talking about, right? So a letter.
Explain what we're talking about, and then
a letter is sent to the LAPD that says Beverly Hills, LAPD, Beverly Hills, and inside it says her address and it says cadaver, right? Later on, when the adopted or the stepson of Susan Berman is interviewed by the filmmakers, he gives her a box of Susan's stuff to go through. And in there, they find a letter that Robert has sent to Susan with the words Beverly spelt wrong, and the handwriting is exactly the same. It's almost like it's definitely him. It's like if you made the Robert Durst font and you typed a letter, that would be the font.
Yep.
It's exactly
I buy it.
I know you would.
I think I tell you, I can't. I'm perplexed at like how the handwriting was the smoking gun for me.
Yeah,
as like you guys heard in Signal. But right, let's not get too far in the.
Well, that bit is this section. That's where, but obviously we don't.
But the handwriting part in the relevance of the documentary is right at the end.
Yeah,
this is why I'm saying like the way we're going through it.
Yeah,
like
so after. It obviously Suzanne Berman's death starts like making headlines, and it starts becoming mainstream news, and then it starts becoming apparent that this person that is also being accused of a woman's potential murder. Yeah, he flees to escape media attention to Galveston, Texas, where he poses as a mute woman named Dorothy Seymour. The name comes from a former high school classmate. He lives in a spa.
It's Dorothy Seymour.
Seymour. He lives Seymour, mute. Like, we're doing hand actions for like sign language. He lives in a Spartan boarding house. Spartans, we shall. What was it? What did I say in 300? We shall dine in hell or something. Like
We
that.
will. Dine in
I
hell.
don't know what a Spartan boarding house is, but
it means there's not much in there. Like
right, okay.
Sparse.
So yeah,
Sparse.
he lives in a Spartan boarding house where his neighbour is an elderly man named Morris Black. This is where the fucking story
now
turns
Morris Black
grim.
is the grumpiest man on the planet.
If there was
This story
definition-
sounds fake. Like,
Does it?
this story to me sounds
They
fake.
found the fucking body.
Morris Black.
But they,
Morris Black was the grumpiest old man on the hill.
Yeah, that's why.
Durst in Texas.
That's why this documentary is so unbelievable, and it seems so mad. Is the fact that all of it is crazy. Every single part of it is mad. Like from start to finish, like every episode is like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's a
What
great
the
documentary.
fuck? It's so, but it's Robert Durst is such an interesting character. I understand why you fancy him and you like love him and you're in love with him. I understand that. But
Well, if you look in the back there, there's a love letter I sent him. No, not
Send-
really.
it's your
I'm
pen-
gonna though. I'm gonna write him.
in prison, you should, yeah.
I'm gonna
Without
see if
that.
we should try and get him on the podcast.
Yes, we definitely should.
That'd
We
be
definitely
fucking
should get him on the
it.
podcast. Right, you're in charge of that.
I'll try.
Yeah, so
That's
yeah,
a fucking damn good idea, boys. I'm sorry.
I'll send him dick
we're getting.
pics.
Yeah. So he's moved. He's pretending to be a woman who's deaf mute, right? And he phones up places and goes, my boss is deaf and mute, and she only communicates through notes. She needs somewhere to stay in Galveston, Texas, and he pays $6 months rent up front for her as her. And then shows up.
Bearing in mind, he's still got a personal assistant in New York as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Which in the
And a
documentary,
wife.
yeah,
And a wife. Yeah.
so good.
Fucking, so fucking bizarre. But so, I looking at the timeline, I don't know whether we want to tap on the relationship and the particular scene that led to what, Morris Black's demise, or do we want to just stick to the timeline and when it? Gets
I
to
would
it?
speak. I would talk about the relationship between
They become
the
friends.
mute.
It's
Death.
It's only. I think what happens is basically Morris Black finds out pretty quickly that
That ain't a mute
The-
fucking
the-
woman.
that Dorothy Signer
She
is a
sure can
man.
talk.
I think a lot of people. Some people said that actually, like, to see Dorothy Signer, it was almost impossible to not think that's a man in a wig.
So somebody said that it was offensive to transsexual
Yeah.
people.
Someone did say
it was
it
an
was-
offense.
it was an
It was as if
offensive-
it was a woman dressing up as a man, as a woman.
I'm sorry to break it to you, but my name isn't Dorothy Simon. I am in fact not a woman or meat.
Amazing.
And I can hear perfectly well.
Yeah, but I remember like this part in the documentary where it's like
Because this is this is the first episode, isn't it? This one.
Yeah, and it's just like it was batshit and bananas nuts as it goes, and then he was like, "Oh, by the way, yeah, I just decided to go to Walmart and buy myself a wig and a fucking handbag," and I was just like, "What fucking angle
And
is this?"
this is why I love the guy. Because as he's being interviewed by these guys who he's asked to interview him, he just kind of goes, I didn't want to stand out. I just wanted to blend in the crowd.
Nonchalant.
And he's just like, so what did you do? I bought a wig and a handbag. And he's just sort of like, who cares?
It wouldn't have surprised me if he even sat there and I even went to the lengths of duct taping my penis and balls between my legs or something like that. Like,
He probably did. It probably just got cut out of the documentary. They were like, oh, we don't want to talk about that.
We don't want to talk about his lunchbox.
I love him.
offense. Oh man,
I think he's so cool.
Yeah, are we
He
sticking
just
to the
doesn't
time-
care.
Are we sticking to the title? No, sorry. We're speaking about their relationship and whatnot, aren't we? So, Morris Black renown as the grumpiest cunt on the fucking like street or the block or whatever you want to call it. Robert Durst mentions that he would hang outside and smoke cigarettes as he wasn't he weren't supposed to smoke in his room, and obviously he wanted to abide by some rules to keep a low profile, and that Morris Black would keep sitting there and telling him to turn the porch light off because the light was connected to his electricity bill or something like that. And he said that was like the first communication that they'd had, and that then the relationship got to a point where they would invite each other into each other's room. But then it came to a point where I could be missing some things, I'm not too sure, when Morris actually discovered who Robert Durst or Dorothy Signer was after he used Robert Durst's computer to search on the internet who he was. And I can't quite remember how he discovered who he was, or whether it was or not Robert Durst sat there and was like, look, I'm not a mute woman. I am, in fact, someone else. Is that how it unfolded? Or was there something that triggered Morris Black to sit there and be like, hold on a minute, you're not, I know that you're not a woman, but you're not even...
Oh, I'm so excited to tell it. I'm so excited to talk about this. Sorry, I could hear the whole time. I was just pissing. I was just like, I was going to scream through. So, from what I remember in the documentary, and whether this is how I just took it, they were watching TV one night, and they were just like, and this is like, because in my mind, I like to paint a picture of how this was. And I just imagine Morris Black was sat in like an old man's chair, and he was sat, I don't know why, Robert Durst was sat on a normal like dining chair, wearing fishnet stockings and a leather skirt. This is how I imagine it. And he had his legs crossed. And this is how he says it in the documentary. I think Morris Black calls him out on it. And he says, why do you do what you do? Like, he asked him, I'm sure he says that in like episode 3 of the documentary. He says, why are you doing like this? And then that's when their relationship apparently started getting like, and that's in the documentary where I thought that was where it was going to come out that he started having some sort of gay relationship with him.
Right,
but
I was anticipating that as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the point. I think Morris Black says something like, why do you do that? And he explains he just wants to not be who he is. It's either on the documentary or it's an interview or something I've seen. I think it's in the interview, I don't, but it's definitely a thing where he just goes, we were just sat on the sofa one night, and he says we were watching like, is it Jeopardy or something like that? He says we were just doing what we do pretty much every night, and he just says, why do you do that? And the whole time I can just imagine his poor little heart like, oh, I thought I was doing a really good job of being a deaf, mute woman. Like, how do you fuck that up? Like, unless you fully look like Hulk Hogan in a dress. And he doesn't. Like, he looked like a skinny 60-year-old man. He's probably not 60 at the time, but... Yeah, and I think that's how it... And then they just... But he continued... This is the way that the jinx is quite deceiving, I think, because it makes it seem like it was for a long time, but I don't think it was. He continued living his life as Signer, and he would continue being Signer whilst around Morris Black. Yeah. But Morris Black knew that he was not necessarily Durst, but not
they didn't know he was Robert Durst. He had no idea who he was. I think, and then that's how like the story goes that Durst found Morris Black snooping around in his apartment.
Yeah, that's it.
And then he had a gun with him, and he pulled the gun on Durst. And then a fight broke out, and he accidentally killed him.
But in the documentary, doesn't he say something about Morris Black getting a really expensive bill and then putting it on a door and shooting it?
Oh, that's it. No, he
talks about like a utility bill or an eviction notice. Yeah, he's like,
eviction notice.
And that's how he explains the other bullets. But then later he says that the other bullets are from a tuffle, doesn't he? He's like, we were like fumbling around, and then he shot through the door, which went into the apartment thing. Which again, I don't know why. It feels genuine. But maybe I'm just gullible.
I think what's happened here is that you believe Robert Durst, but Robert Durst has convinced himself because he's such a he's got a mental health problem,
Yeah.
And
so for the
you believe the...
I missed a lot of that anyway because my internet's shit.
You believe Robert Durst, because Robert Durst is so convinced himself. But also, he's also got these two personalities which come out clearly when the hot mic catches him, that he talks to himself. He talks to himself a lot, because it doesn't happen just once, that hot mic thing. He mutters to himself.
Yeah.
He must do that a lot. And I think that might be why Morris Black kind of discovered what was going on.
Because he probably had overheard a man talking.
Yeah, and he might,
a man talking to a deaf mute woman.
Yeah,
right.
I think he
isn't there
just to himself.
Yeah, I think Robert Durst talks to himself out loud. I think that is probably the main issue here, is that Robert keeps getting caught because Robert keeps telling people things.
So what
keeps telling people
at this point that what we were discussing. Robert Durst then comes home to his apartment and he finds Morris Black inside his apartment. And Morris Black is sitting down on a chair and is angry, very, very angry. And he's received an eviction notice that he blames Robert Durst for. And the account that Robert Durst has given is that Robert then calms him down, tells him to put the gun down, this, that, the other. They converse about, I don't know, this eviction notice or a few other things. Robert gets up to go and use the bathroom, and then he hears a gunshot. He then comes back into the living room as to where Morris Black is stood pointing a gun, and Robert asks him, "What did you do? I heard a gunshot. Put the gun down. What are you doing?" And he said, "I shot the eviction notice." And to which then Robert Durst is still claiming that he's telling Morris Black to put the gun down, to which then a tussle involves where he tries to grab the gun and wrestle Morris Black out of the apartment because he allegedly feels threatened. They then fall to the floor, the gun goes off, and then it shoots Morris Black through the head. That's the story from Robert Durst as to how Morris Black has died. Now,
so of course, when you shoot somebody in the head, guys,
by accident,
it's just a tussle. You then
surgically,
you ring the police. Is what you should have done. You should have rang the police.
Instead, you with surgical precision, you dismember a body, put it in bags, and throw it in the water.
That's it. Because you're involved in some very scrupulously fucking past
other murders.
Potential murders and disappearances of one woman and the murder of another. You decide not to ring the police, and instead, you quite literally dismember this person's body, legs, arms, and head, and then dispose of the body in the local fucking... No, it was a sea, wasn't it? It wasn't even a river. It was the fucking ocean.
So think about it, right? There's a couple of options here. If the other person who he killed, he didn't fucking do anything. He just left her there. If he did, his wife...
He did.
They haven't found a body yet. So this is technically his third killing, that we know about. How did he make it so obvious? What did he do? Because this is what I'm saying. Did he put his wife's body in a bin bag and then it floated to the top and he was like, do you know what I need to do? I need to chop her into smaller pieces. Did he chop it? And now he's works this pattern out, because if he has, he's still fucked up. He still hasn't done it very well.
I think he was in a rush.
I think it's circumstance the reason he's fucked up this murder, because the first one with Kathleen, it was secluded. The second one, he was inside somebody's apartment. He didn't live there himself, so there was maybe some planning that could occur and an escape route and maybe some form of alibi.
He did it execution style, so it looked like a mob hit.
Right, that was it. Well, yeah, exactly.
Susan
There's
Berman,
reasons behind it. Whereas with this one, it's fucking weird. The fact that he's posing as a woman. He's also living in an apartment with another person. So there's a lot of fucking bollards in the way, or
I think
stopping.
Speed is what I think happened here. Is he goes, he did it, and then but he got caught. He went back and lived back at the apartment, didn't he? Because the police found him and arrested him, almost within weeks.
Well,
October the 3rd, police but in 2
right,
days
hold
they
on,
found him.
September though.
Yeah, the 30th.
September.
And
so
October the
he's-
3rd, he was caught.
Right, so before we get to that, anyway, we'll stick to the timeline because this is a fucking fundamental aspect of this whole entire story. So he's dismembered the body with and he didn't he claim that there was already a bone saw in the fucking apartment and
he left it in his car.
Right, yeah. He had dismembered the body. We missed another part. He then cut the body
Robert.
in fucking half. With an axe. Did it? Oh, Robert.
Oh,
and
Robert. He cut the
head-
arms, the legs, and the head's never been found.
Yeah. So
Wrapped it in
September-
newspaper and then put it in bin bags.
Oh, he did it. He did the old chip shop fucking.
I was just
thing
about to
with
say,
it.
maybe he was planning on eating it. Maybe that's to keep it fresh.
Listen,
A pound of veal, sir.
Some jellied eels on the side with that. September
Oh.
30th, a fishing family in Galveston discovers a dismembered torso floating off the beach. Police investigate the bay and find additional severed body parts as well as the packaging for a bow saw and a newspaper with the address of the boarding house.
What
a
an idiot.
fucking error.
I
What a
think
moron.
that part for me was one of the most detailed. For anybody who's listening who's obviously not going to watch it now because we've spoiled it, the first episode is the guy who discovers the torso, and he explains him going into the water, and the only way to grab the torso out is by sticking his hand underneath the this whatever is that the clavicle? I don't know. I know the clavicle's here, but
he was with his
and he
son.
couldn't get it out because it was so slippy. It's like the skin's slipping off.
It's
and
like
he had to
just
stick his hand in the throat.
It's like
pick out
listeners,
there.
just imagine he had to stick his hand in the throat, but with his thumb and fingers hold on to the top bones of the collar, the collarbone to hold it and pull the torso out.
And he said
When
that
they
the bags had already ripped as well. So it's like
that was
He's
explain
with
it.
his
I
think
I don't
his
think I've
teenage
recoiled.
son was with him. His
don't think
teenage
I've
son was there.
I don't think I've
no.
recoiled at a description of fucking handling a body like that. That made me sit there and just be like, made my fucking the inside of my fucking toes itch. It was
again though, I haven't had a bath in a long time, but I've had bad skin recently, just for the listeners at home. And I had to have an oil-laden bath the other day, and I haven't had a bath in about 3 years. I know, looking at me, I probably look like I hadn't had a bath in 10 years. But
He's had a shower though, people. He's had
I've
showers.
had showers, yeah. I would expect that those fucking parts that come out of those bags would have looked worse than I looked worse coming out of that oil-laden bath. My fucking fingers were all pruned, and
I think
at
it's,
least I
it's the
was
salt
bright
water,
red.
that's why. It's the
Yeah,
salt
'cause
water
that-
that preserves it.
Those arms and
and
there's
they're
no
in
head.
bags as well.
And it was
Yeah,
in
it
there.
was
It was
so
only in there
weird.
for a matter of hours, if that.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was found pretty much he threw it in there, and then they just stayed at the front. They
Like
weren't
a
Didn't
allowed.
go off
boomerang.
anywhere, did they? Yeah. It kind of just the waves just brought it back in.
Yeah,
I remember listening to that and being like, "What are you that?"
Yeah, I
fucking
didn't.
dumb?
I didn't catch on that. I
Yeah,
thought
it
it
was
would have been
like
maybe
this.
a day or two.
No, it was the same day. I think he just threw it in, and then because I guess before he's thrown the body of Kathleen into a lake, and there's no tides really, so it's kind of it's just
Nobody found.
fresh water. Whereas you throw it into the sea, and it's just going to get pushed back into It's not gonna,
Yeah.
you have to throw it
Absurd.
quite far out for it to get washed out. If the tide.
Also, as well, these are the things that I like to think about with Robert Durst. I do really like this guy, the idea of this guy, even though he is a murderer now. He's a murderer now in our timeline. But was he dressed as the deaf-mute woman
Yes.
while he was throwing those bags in the sea?
Pretty sure he was. Yeah.
Did anyone go, fucking hell, that woman's got a throw on her?
She's got an arm on her.
Just like that.
Is that
And
enough?
he had to do it 5 times. And then, maybe the head. No one knows where the head is.
Well,
maybe it's fucking hell, my arm's knackered now. Or
the
he's just
head. I think the head had a bullet in it. That's why.
so it was heavier.
Well, yeah.
No! He had the fucking evidence
So,
in it.
Yeah.
Evidence, yeah. So he ate it and then spat out the bullet on the plate. He spat it out on the side platter.
With going back to the timeline, October 3rd, police returned to the boarding house with a search warrant after obviously searching through the trash of the boarding house and discovering a receipt that obviously matched what they found on the newspaper. They went back to the house with a search warrant and they find blood in Morris Black's room, as well as a trail of blood leading to the apartment of Seymour. A search of that apartment yields a bloody knife and a bloody pair of men's boots. After realising that the torso is Black's and that Seymour is Durst, they put a warrant out for Durst's arrest.
They didn't know that Robert Durst was the Robert Durst at this point.
No, they didn't. Can you imagine being the copper and figuring out and just being like, how the fuck is this you? Like, it's you again. Wrong place, wrong time, Robert.
Yeah, according to JJ.
Agreed.
So he basically, so they get him in and they set his bail at like $250,000, thinking this guy
is getting away with this.
Money gets wired to them within 14 hours or something.
I must admit
That's
that
cool.
part in the documentary, I was like, that is fucking swagger.
And
like,
then he skips bail. Just goes.
And then the fact that the guy in the jail sits there and says, oh yeah, so we put his bail at $250,000. And then the next thing, like, he questions that, oh, if I pay this bail, I'm free to go. And the police officer says, well, yeah, but like, have you got $250,000? And he says, well, not on me. I was like, fucking nuts. Like, absolute
yes,
swagger.
lad.
Yeah.
Absolute mad lad. And then he just makes a phone call to his current wife, the weird one that they had a very fucking weird wedding with. And this sounds like an odd wedding.
I didn't know anything about this.
Well,
I didn't
no,
know
this is
anything
in the
about the
documentary.
wedding until now.
So,
Right,
because that
but-
wasn't in the documentary, really.
She's in the documentary being questioned, but she seems so
She's the
like...
power of attorney. That is a marriage of convenience.
Can you explain what that is? Exactly?
So that means that obviously
Signs your rights over, doesn't it?
Yeah, so he needed someone that he could, like a next of kin. So he needed someone that could like take care of shit outside, because obviously he didn't have family. And I think he just had they've been together since 93, I think they've been together.
And she was strange as far as...
If you sign power of attorney, basically as well, if you are compos mentis, is that the word? You're technically, if you're classed as insane, that means airship can come down because you're not in control of your own thoughts.
Okay,
so,
gotcha. Okay, I understand.
If say, for instance, he discovered that he had a mental disorder which would deem him
like dementia
vocal, something like that.
Okay.
That basically passes it on to somebody who can control it. So
Gotcha. But she was very strange, and she's the one that then wired his bail within 24 hours. So obviously she's got connections to his family and stuff like that.
And he still gets $3 million a year.
What, from the family?
Yeah, he's no longer works for the family, but he gets an allowance from the Durst family
of
$3 million a year. So he's
a $3 million allowance.
Yeah. She's also a very high. She's a very high profile lawyer.
No, she's real estate. Isn't she a real estate broker?
I thought she was a lawyer, but
she sounds like she knows what she's. She knows. Sorry, excuse me. She sounds like she knows
she's a
how
real
to
estate
talk.
broker.
Yeah,
It sounds like she knows how to talk. Yeah. Like in the interviews in the documentary, she's very, very.
She
precise
questions
with her
everything. Before she goes, she thinks before she speaks. She knows.
That's what I'm saying.
She does not say. She doesn't incriminate herself at all through the whole thing. You can tell her ticking over
It seems.
But to be fair as well, sorry, dude.
No. Go ahead, JJ.
To be fair, she probably will have grown up with their family. Yeah. So they've probably grown up with a similar background as well, knowing, not saying that everybody in New York is privileged with that, but she probably is a real estate heir as well, or, has grown up with that. Yeah. I don't know much about her, but...
It seems like he surrounds himself with people that he can benefit from. For instance, Kathleen just sounded like beautiful woman, young, in love, whatnot. The second one, Berman.
Well, he's
mob ties, very gonna keep her nose to the ground, very fucking smart, knows how to talk, knows when to talk. And then this real estate girl, just judging by the police investigation video when she's being questioned, she's as fucking sharp as a knife.
Yeah.
You can tell. Every single answer is intricate, well thought of, and executed so perfectly.
Yeah.
At least in defense of him.
Yeah, so he flees obviously after paying
Paying bail.
paying $300,000
Absolute baller
or whatever
move.
it's about. Posing as Morris Black, he rents a car in Mobile, Alabama, and then just goes missing. He's gone. He's gone for like
I'm off.
a couple of weeks, I think, till they find him.
So he poses as
just
Morris Black.
Yeah, he poses as Morris Black. He shaves his head and everything, and his eyebrows.
He also shaves his eyebrows
Yeah,
off,
he
which
shaves his eyebrows,
another great move.
That is
Especially where he's walking around the supermarket. Because he's just like, nobody recognizes you with your without eyebrows. You look fucking weird. I love that. He's just like, but that's fucking weird.
And before we get onto that supermarket, that point in November, a judge has declared Kathy Durst legally dead. But the 60 grand Durst was meant to inherit is placed in escrow while he's still under investigation for a murder.
What's escrow?
Why is he fucking bothered about 60 grand?
Escrow's like a holding account, like where
Until
neither party can get it. It's the same with I think with house purchases in the US as well. They go into escrow. So if you buy a house, both you put the money into escrow
between yourself and the estate agent. Between in the middle.
And the home buyer. So
gotcha.
Like
I understand.
It stays there while the contracts thing, and once the contracts are transferred and they move in, it goes. Yeah. So escrow is basically like a holding account, like a legal holding account.
Yeah.
It goes. So she's declared dead, and he doesn't get his inheritance of 60 grand, which is not even, which is like a fraction of his bail money.
What's that? That's not even 5% of his allowance.
No. And then on November the 30th. Durst is finally rearrested after getting caught shoplifting a sandwich, a $6 sandwich.
Like this is what fucking boggled my.
Yeah, it makes you think he wanted to get caught.
This is the part in my mind where I changed my mind about it.
Yeah, I paused the documentary and I sat there and I just I sat there and laid back in bed and I was just like, why the fuck would he do that? How smart he has been throughout this entire journey and how well collected he has been with the way he's been describing himself. He goes and pulls a funny one like that, and then in like the documentary,
500 quid in cash in his wallet.
Yes, and I just
Morris Black's driver's license, 2 guns, and then $37,000 in cash.
And
in the car.
How he sits there in the documentary, and he's just like, "It was a stupid move on my part. What did I care?" And I was just like, what is this? Is this the attitude of someone
that was a good impression. That impression was good. Yeah,
he's very impulsive, isn't it? It's like almost like he's having an episode. Is what it feels like.
Right? Yeah, that's almost what it felt like. It was almost just like
it feels like that's
a moment of madness.
That behaviour, that behaviour for the stealing of the sandwich is the behaviour that probably makes him murder.
Something sitting in the back of his head going, I need to do something, I need attention, what's going on here?
Yeah. This is where Morris Black, this is where I changed my mind on it. Like,
because it just
and this is why the documentary didn't work very well in my favour. Because all the way through I was just going, he's innocent. I went the other way. I was just like, and then it,
what can I say? I really like chicken sandwiches.
It's like you guys said, it's that element of excitement which something in your brain is lacking. Like there's some mental something with like. So one of my friends who has is dissociative disorder. So she blames it on a PTSD moment. She says that's what stems it, and this is why she can't set and commit to things. Because there's always that thought there that something might crop up and disrupt it. Whereas in that, he's obviously like that. That's what it sounds like. He's like, I've got all... This is why I was just like, there's all these things. And then he was just like, life is... It's like very much like what lockdown is now. People are just so bored and so like... and then they just make a fucking snap... Not murder, but like, I'm just going to do this. And you're like, fuck, I was telling you...
go back to university and do a master's at the age of 30.
Exactly. I was so shocked when you told me. I was like, why are you doing that? It's fucking stupid.
I don't know.
The best part of university was being at university. Doing the work sucks.
everybody's going through minor midlife crisis moments. Almost.
Yeah.
Lockdown.
So the other week, this isn't quite the same, but the other week I was just like, I like my motorbike how it is. But then I was like, I've got these bars, I want to put them on. And I fucking knew by putting them on, I was going to just open an absolute wormhole of shit. I knew it. And of course that fucking happened. But because I'm older now, I fucking learned how to deal with all those little bits in micromanagement bits. Right. If I'd have done that fucking 10 years ago, I'd have literally kicked my bike over and just set it on fire. Because that's how I was like 10 years ago. But now I was like, I'll break it down in small bits. Whereas he's done it, he's the other way. He's got all this fucking madness. And because life has got so boring, he's just like, I'm just going to steal this sandwich.
There's no struggle, is there? So
bands do it on tour, don't they? Like every time I die do it. They do that pitting thing where they're just like, they've got money to buy fucking food, even though they probably didn't. But they're just like that, sticking fucking food on their armpits. But it's the excitement of stealing it that is the bit, I'm
going to admit it now. I can't go into Marks and Spencer's without stealing.
What?
I don't know
why. I
why.
thought you were going to say, I can't go into Marks and Spencer's because I'm bad.
I was expecting
I'm not going to say the Marks and Spencer's, but me and Di from Eat Dirt, we used to work together in London, and we would just go into Marks and Spencer's at lunch, and then see like what we could walk out with, like, and then add up the value like outside, see who won. But we always used to do the self-checkout. You know, you'd self-checkout and scan a few things, and then like the Anthony Warhol Thompson thing. But it got to a point where we wouldn't even go to the self-checkout anymore. We just walk in, pick stuff up, and then walk out again. And it got to a point where like we knew that eventually we were gonna get caught, and then we're like, but then they're just gonna go and look through the tapes because they see us all the time, and they'll go, oh, well, you guys have been doing this for a year.
Just imagine if you'd have been doing it for 15 years.
Well, if lockdown hadn't happened,
you'd have been caught.
We'd probably still be doing it. It was like this one-upmanship of it was
like
because we
worked bandits.
But because we worked together, but we'd also done tours together as well. It was just that boredom of like we're at work.
We're not on tour anymore.
But we're at work, so it's the same as being on tour. But instead we do our work during the day and not in the evenings. What can we do?
Just the way that you were talking about that about the going to self-checkout as if you were buying stuff or you were buying stuff and then stealing bits. The fucking Waitrose at King's Cross Station, you can literally just walk in there and just walk through the self-checkout. No one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Like, I did it by accident. I had some fucking pop chips underneath my armpit, and I genuinely had them under my armpit by accident. I picked up some cheese with the intention to buy it, this fucking cocoa vegan cheese, and then I was like, oh no, I've got some at home. Put it on the shelf, walked straight out the shop, and then I was just like, went to pick my bag up, I was like, oh, what's that? Packet of pop chips. And my mum was like, keep them. And just fucking we just got on train.
If I've been with you, okay, that's about £1, mate. I got 8 quid.
Never stolen anything in my life. Never stolen anything.
It's so weird. Like I've never ever done it, but because of when we were on tour, like we were poor. Like we had no money.
Yeah.
A £5 a day, and that would not last.
You barely get a Subway for that.
We had to buy beers like at some point.
Yeah, we had to.
You know, or beers would run
buy
out.
a Guinness. It's a roast dinner, then, isn't it?
It's a roast dinner.
Yeah. And also in London, it's more
like,
than £5.
Hey,
It would be like, it would start with pepperonis, and it built up. It built up to like.
Don't tell me where you sell those.
It would build up, and like it just became it stopped being about the need to get some food for cheap, and it started to be about the excitement of seeing how much you could nick, and I kind of see that the why he had these episodes of like, oh, it's like how am I going to get attention? How am I going to get some excitement?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Robert Durst Sympathy podcast.
Yes. Well, I've been here from the get-go. I'm the #1 fan.
I mean, and
slowly transitioning.
As a white male, I totally sympathise with him.
I sympathise.
Sympathise.
Along, right, let's get back to Durst anyway. Along with the fact that he had been shoplifting a fucking chicken sandwich or something like that, and Ben mentioning he had $500 cash on him, 2 guns in his car. He also had 37 grand in cash on his car.
This is why I feel like he was on a bigger mission. I feel like he was on a bigger mission because
I think the plan was to just disappear. No, to just disappear.
you're not going to fucking do anything with 37 grand. It's 2001.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But
you know what I mean?
37 grand and a car. That's a year. That's a year's wages there for someone.
Yeah, for somebody, not fucking Robert Durst.
Yeah, but he'd already done this before. He'd done the vagabond thing for about a decade. He'd just travelled around America. In between Kathleen going missing and Susan Berman's death, he'd done this a few times. He'd done this thing where he just went and
I'll take that on board. I'll take what you're saying. I'm picking what you're putting down.
So
picking up.
In September, Durst goes on trial for the death of Morris Black.
2 years later. 2 years later.
2 years later. He argues that he killed Black in self-defense. As we had mentioned earlier, as I was saying, there was a tussle in the house and they had both fallen down and the gun had gone off and shot Morris Black in the back of the head. He argued that he killed Black in self-defense after the older man threatened him with a gun. Although he admits, I did dismember him, he also admits that his marriage to Sheraton was a marriage of convenience to give her power of attorney. So you were correct, Ben.
Yeah.
Which also makes... in that admission, I don't know why he said, I did dismember him. Like, what... It seems like... The thing is, the marriage was prior to this happening. But so it seemed like he knew he was heading for a breakdown.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't be like, I did dismember him, but, I did sign my power of attorney across, so, like... Yeah. Anyway, because obviously the next part is more substantial.
Well, sorry, Ben, go ahead.
So but throughout the trial, his lawyers had kind of swung the jury onto their side by just making them laugh.
Can we talk about that? Because that has to be one of the most intriguing fucking court trials I think I have.
Because he's not a likable man. And I know JJ likes him, but he's got.
I fucking love him, and maybe it was the court case.
He rubs people up the wrong way. Like
I don't think he does.
I think he does.
I think it depends.
I think he knows how to manipulate people, but he didn't have anything to do with that jury liking him. It was all his lawyers telling the stories, telling him what to say, how to treat it. They were like. Tell them about buying the wig. Make fun of tell them about
fun about the fact that you went.
I agree with that.
Handbag, and they originally tried to make him a sympathy icon with the sense of that there was an attorney back in New York that was trying to open up the Kathleen Durst case against him, and that was kind of the reason that he was being that he was going to the lengths of buying a wig and buying a blouse and a handbag because of the fact that he wanted to get away from this and wanted a life of just like a completely new life anyway. And the fact
he wanted a normal life, didn't he? That's what he said. I just wanted a normal life.
But the fact that the lawyers had the nuts to fucking run with that and chance on making the jury laugh at his own expense.
Well, that's what they do. That's what they always do. This is
was fucking marvelous to watch.
It was very. You look at the West Memphis. I always keep talking about this West Memphis 3 one, but you look at the way that they're manipulated. They were even telling them to talk about how not to talk about how you would use a knife in the kitchen. Like, they give him a knife and he's like, I don't want you to use this knife how you would use it in a kitchen. I want you to use it as you would be, carving up some meat. And he was just like, well, what's the difference between carving an onion and carving meat? And he was like, you show me the difference and we'll discuss that. It's so weird because he's just talking about how the way he would cut an onion, but the way he would cut meat is different. Yeah. And this isn't a different case, obviously, but that's their fucking job, isn't it?
Yeah. The prosecution and the defense their job is to either prove someone innocent or guilty, and it doesn't matter how you do it. Or in the case of most defenses, it's to prove that they're either incapable of standing trial or they are incapable of they get the lesser case or get the lesser thing. So some defense lawyers have just got to get the bare minimum, like get it down from death to like life, depending on the case and what they think they can get away with.
You'll have to excuse me on that one. Sorry. My internet's all over the place.
Yeah. And I think it's incredible the fact that they were so smart. And I think as well that Robert Durst ain't an idiot anyway. And the fact that he had 3 attorneys that were very fucking smart to begin with as well. And he had the money to pay for these particular attorneys. And the fact that they were able to more focus on the sympathetic side of the convincing the jury that what Robert Durst was going through in the dismemberment and the reason that he decided to dismember the body.
Because he knew that they were after him, didn't he? And he wouldn't get a fair trial, yeah.
It was bonkers for the fact that they were trying to sit there and explain to the jury that look at what he had to do for self-defense, and it swayed the jury. It was mad.
You two talk to me on this one, right?
Okay.
If they believed that he was like insane, like not insane through the murder, insane through mental health. So like he's always had mental health, not he's always been insane. Wouldn't they just immediately, like, I know the answer in my head, but wouldn't they just be like, well, he's mental? So their job is that job that they've done is essentially a real gamble, because they could have been like, let's try and get him off with the whole thing, or let's just try and get him a lesser sentence by saying that he's mental. Because surely they must have brought up in that case, because this is the problem with the documentary. The documentary goes backwards. In this case, surely they should have brought up the fact that his wife's gone missing, never found. His best friend found dead with a hole in her head. They must have known, because it was afterwards.
I think
they must have known that he was linked to that.
The Berman murder, he was never linked to at that point.
Because he was disproved as a suspect. I remember them
early on
mentioning
in
that.
The Berman
he was completely denounced.
The skepticism around that must have been there, though.
But I don't think the prosecution really pushed that.
They're not allowed to use it. They're not allowed to use it unless it's full-blown evidence.
They can't say allegedly or anything. Yeah.
The jury, obviously, we know that the jury aren't meant to do any background research and blah blah blah. Obviously, it's only 2003 or 4, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, I bet when one of you guys said that one of your pals have been called for jury service. I never have done.
No.
But if I was doing a case and it was gritty as fuck like that, first thing I do, go on the internet, see what the fuck's going on.
I don't think they got the ability to. I don't think they can do that. Especially
what, jurors?
Then. No, back then they couldn't.
Oh, back then, right? Okay.
Also,
come on, Ben.
Robert Durst. Like, I don't know if you remember this from the documentary, but he became like best friends with one of the jurors, and to this day, that juror.
Is that the bald fella?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it.
To this day,
I thought that was fucking what's his name's son.
No. He's in there, but there's a juror where at the end of the documentary, he was like, well, it just sounded innocent to me. I don't remember sitting there and being like, you fucking cocksucker.
And it turned out that he was one of the one people who said that he was innocent, right?
Yeah, no.
And it had to be like a
unanimous.
I must admit, if I was to take myself away and forget everything that I knew about Robert Durst before that court case had occurred, it would absolutely sound like this poor, frail old man has been put through fucking hell, and it's came to a point where he's had to dismember a body. I would even sit there and be like, well, to be honest, if I was in that situation, I don't know what the fuck I would do.
That was the part. It was the part that turned me around. The dismemberment part is like, God, this makes me sound so Christian. I'm not, but it's just like that part. Nothing gets that bad. You have to fucking cut a body up and put it in black bin bags, transport it, knowing that it's in your car, and then throw it in a fucking river. Nothing gets that bad.
During the court case, he explained how he did it, and that he used 2 saws and an axe and a parking knife.
And he also talks about how he had to, one of the bones, right, he couldn't quite get through, so he had to stand on it. Doesn't he say that he had to snap the thigh bone or something like that? He's like, And he talks about, and even the jury at the time, I'd just be like, looking at the dude, he's literally just like, hey, it was a bit tough. I just had to like, and he says I just had to snap it with my foot. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's just
That's
like...
where my brain turned off with Robert Durst. Like, there is, again, the thing is, we've talked about this before. Like, I know we're sidetracking a little bit, or I'm sidetracking. But we talked about, like, Macaulay Culkin on Joe Rogan. So disassociated with reality. They're just like, oh, I just had to stand on a fucking thigh bone to snap it off.
So that says something about...
Macaulay Culkin refers to his fucking girlfriend as the woman and the person who, you know, might eventually give him a child. Like, if any normal woman heard you speaking about, like, that to them, they'd be like, what the fuck? Hang on a second.
If I labelled my wife as the woman, she'd be like, fucking excuse me?
Yeah.
Fucking... Okay, then. Timeline.
And this is the thing with...
Timeline.
Yeah.
So he goes to prison.
Yeah, first he's found
not for murder,
guilty.
not guilty of murder, but to the lesser charges of tampering with evidence and skipping bond. He is given something like, I think,
sentenced to 5 years in prison.
5 years in prison. Credit for time served, which would have been 2 years. So he would have done 3. He did it a year, but then he had to stay near his home in New York. He was caught going back to Morris Black's apartment and going to a mall near the Morris Black's apartment. Bear in mind, that's in Galveston, Texas, and he was meant to stay in New York. Right?
Fucking deliberately.
So that mall that he was found in Galveston, Texas, the judge that gave him those terms of his parole caught him, and he went back to prison for another year, I think, 2 years back in prison.
You are paroled from going fucking like 5,000
he had to go
3,000 miles away.
He had to go and do 4 months in jail.
Fucking nutcase, dude.
Yeah. So
Can't wait to read this next one.
Go on. I'll let you do it. Go
on, JJ.
Do I? No, I feel like I've taken it away from you.
No, do it.
Durst receives a $65 million settlement from his family. So is that his family just going, look, man, we don't want anything to do with you anymore.
No.
His $65 million.
That's it.
Which is probably like 1% of his net, of his dynasty.
We told you not to get a flight to Texas, and you fucking did it.
Yeah.
Right, there you go. Piss off.
Do you know he sued them for that money as well?
You can buy parole, like, what, 24,000 times? Well, maybe not 24,000 times. 240. You can buy parole that many times.
That's fucking absurd.
Yeah.
It's that number times 4, whatever that number is.
It's madness, isn't it? So he's found not guilty. He does 5 years in prison. Then he gets his $65 million settlement. So he then gets on March the 1st, after his $65 million payout, he's probably sitting there. He's sitting in prison going, when I get out of here, I've got $65 million.
He's not though. Our boy Robert, my boy Robert's not like that.
And then
he don't give a shit about money.
So he's got another influx of cash, and therefore his lawyers can then file a petition arguing that parole restrictions were too obtrusive. Bear in mind, he only had to stay in New York. He flew to Galveston, Texas.
Don't get on a plane to Texas, you twat. Stop it.
His lawyers managed to fight the case, and he gets sent out. He gets out of prison on saying that the parole parameters were too obtrusive. So instead of flying to Texas, so he flew to Texas when he was told to stay in New York.
Mall in Texas. What's wrong with that?
That's really good, isn't it? That's such a good impression.
It's really good.
He gets released from prison, and then
What's wrong with that?
All Good Things.
Just black eyes, nothing there.
All Good Things is released in 2010, which is Andrew Jarecki's film.
Maybe that was his life goal. Like, to be fair, is that not most men's life goal? Have a fucking docudrama where the main character, is played by Ryan fucking Gosling.
Right. And
like,
it's either Reynolds or Gosling, isn't it?
Listeners of the podcast.
I mean, I'm going for Jason Momoa, but
watchers of the podcast,
Yes.
listeners of the podcast, please pause, or if you're on your phone and you're listening to the podcast, just open up your internet browser and search Ryan Gosling and go, that's Ryan Gosling. And everyone knows who Ryan Gosling is, but just look at Ryan Gosling. Don't just think about Ryan Gosling. Look at Ryan Gosling. Open up a new tab in your browser and search Robert Durst.
And look at the similarities.
Even that period of time where Ryan Gosling's playing him, Robert Durst has got that like weird Bill Gates cut where he looks like the fucking mushroom from Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
He's got like this little...
There is...
So Robert Durst... Go on.
It's just, if you were to pick any actor to play Robert Durst, Ryan Gosling is the last person I'd pick.
Al Pacino.
Timothy Spall. Timothy Spall.
Oh, no! Don't give him Timothy Spall, you cunt. That's well out. Have you seen Timothy Spall's? Have you seen his fucking fingernail?
Yeah.
Massive.
Loves Charlie, mate. Loves Charlie.
Yeah. But you think he'd cut it off for films?
No.
You've got
Why?
JJ would have Jason Momoa pose as him. Like, that's fine. You're going on about, look at Robert Durst getting Ryan Gosling. I'd get fucking Ian Watkins playing him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. He's not an actor,
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Nah. And he's also about 50 stone now as well.
Oh, is he? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I'd like. Do you know
Yeah.
what? I'd actually quite like to see what he looks like now.
I'll send you a picture. Not that he's been sending them to me.
No, I
don't
was
have
like,
it.
what?
Yeah.
Is there like up-to-date pictures of him now? Then
There was one from like 2 years ago.
are you kidding? I've
Where?
not seen
No.
it. No, you got to send me that. Right. Yeah. Sorry.
He's a beast.
While JJ's looking for that.
I lost. Who would play you, Dean? It wouldn't be Ian Watkins. Who would play you in a
Well,
film?
it was only
Has
because
to be an actor. Has to be an actor.
I know, but it was only because people mentioned that I look like
You do
Watkins
look a
when I
bit
was
like
younger. But I don't really fucking. I keep getting. I've always been told that if I shave my hair, right? Have you ever seen? You've obviously seen RoboCop, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know, when
Peter Weller.
Peter Weller, there you go. I reckon
No,
a younger
no.
only
Much better
because-
looking than Peter Weller.
No, but it's only because Peter Weller's cranium is the same shape as mine.
Oh,
like, if
okay.
I go bald, I would look like RoboCop without his helmet on. Honestly, I'm
Really?
fine with that. I've made peace with that.
You got loads of metal at the back and like
But
wires.
80s Peter Weller, man, in RoboCop, I think he's fucking badass, so I wouldn't.
I'd say Joseph Gordon-Levitt with a
Joseph
beard.
Gordon-Levitt, yeah.
Ooh, yes, I love.
Joseph
I love.
Gordon-Levitt.
It's the
So
eyes, I think. It's the nice
In the Not
eyes.
Another Conspiracy
Kind eyes.
podcast, it would be Jason Momoa playing JJ,
Yep.
Joseph
Gordon-Levitt
Gordon-Levitt playing Dean, and then I don't know.
Who would play you though? Oh, hold on, I've got.
I was it Russell Crowe.
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper.
Oh,
I've
it's
had,
Bradley
yeah.
Cooper
Yeah,
all
I've
day
had Bradley
long,
Cooper.
isn't it? Yeah.
Better than Zach
Cooper all day
Galifianakis,
long.
I guess.
Nah, that's
Yeah,
in
that-
reality. That's what I
Yeah,
would
get
be.
Zach. Yeah, in reality, you'd get
It's not
Zach
fucking
Galifianakis.
Jason Momoa, is it? Let's be honest.
I want to see
I'm like
fan
half
art in the
his
Discord
size.
of the Not Another Conspiracy podcast movie poster.
Yeah, anyone who
With
wants to do
Joseph
that.
Gordon-Levitt, Jason Momoa, and
Bradley
Bradley Cooper. Escapades.
Or Zach
what
Galifianakis, whichever
Or
one.
Zach
you want.
Galifianakis.
Are you guys in the Discord or on? Actually,
You
leave
decide.
leave a comment below.
Leave a comment below.
Leave a comment below. Don't forget to drop a like.
Yeah, by the way, please send me that picture of Ian Watkins.
I'm
Yeah,
trying
I'd
to
like
find it.
I'm
Put it in the
curious.
signal for us. The film's come out. Against the advice of his lawyer, he got. So the person that loved this film the most was Robert Durst.
No, of course it fucking
He
was.
loved this film because he's a fucking lunatic.
Who doesn't want a movie made about them? I do.
He said parts made him cry.
That was
Of
brilliant.
course they fucking do.
Against the advice of his lawyer, he contacts Jarecki to offer a lengthy sit-down interview, which will eventually become HBO's The Jinx, which is our main part of research on this.
Our main source. But it's
Our main
funny,
source
at
is
this
that.
point, his lawyer must be like, what's the fucking point in telling him not to do anything? The one ball buster is, don't go to New York. Like,
No,
Durst,
stay in
Robert,
New York.
do not... what are you? I'm at the airport. I'm going to Texas. No, don't get on that
You
plane.
have to stay in New York or you go back to prison.
Stay. Get off the plane, but they've got free peanuts. I love free peanut. No, get off the... I'm in Texas. Fuck! Like, do you know what I mean? Like, at this point, they probably just like, whatever. Ryan Gosling, fucking, what? I don't
Just
give a
don't,
fuck
please
anymore.
don't do the interview.
Just don't do the
Robert.
interview.
Robert, you probably gonna incriminate yourself. You're a bit mental.
Yep. Guess what? I'm doing the interview.
So, late 2010, Durst is interviewed on camera for the Jinx and denies any culpability in the deaths of Catherine Durst and Susan Berman. Sometime after the first interview, Jarecki discovers an envelope addressed to Berman from Durst, which matches the handwriting of the cadaver letter and includes the same misspelling of Beverly Hills. It's fucking him.
Right, just to quickly
He
round up
fucking
with
did it!
viewers and listeners, the cadaver letter is the letter that Beverly Hills police received after
It was sent.
Samantha
It was sent
Burnham's-
before.
Susan.
It was sent a day before she was discovered.
Yes,
The
a
body
day
was
before
discovered,
Susan
and
Burnham's body was
and
discovered.
arrived the day after.
And it was a simple letter that was in block capitals, labelled Beverly Hills Police on the envelope. When you opened it up, it contained the address and the words cadaver. This, to me, is the fucking smoking gun.
Yeah.
And the climax of
Damn.
the...
Well,
Sorry?
Chuck, you cut handwriting, don't mean noted, Cole.
Is that-
That's JJ.
Is that a JJ impression?
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ. No wonder he got up and walked away. But yes, so he's interviewed on camera and denies any culpability. Jarecki interviews Durst a second time and confronts him about the newfound envelope. This was the envelope that Susan Burnham's kind of like adopted stepson, who was very, very close to Susan, had in possession of him, and it was a letter from Robert Durst where the fucking handwriting is...
And the spelling mistake's the same.
It's the same. The spelling mistakes are the same. The way the N is written on countless occasions is exactly the same as the cadaver letter.
They do like
exactly.
this full like report, all of the letters ever written, anything ever written by Robert Durst, they find it. They get all these reports and they shut up. They get,
So JJ is wagging his
they
hand
get
for
all the
audio
they get all the court they get
Wagging his
loads and letters, forms he's filled in, they get stuff from like the
drivers, rental car places.
anything they can find, anything they can get over under the public the Right of Information Act or whatever it is.
Yep.
They
Everything
get it
Robert Durst
and they
has written
scan
down,
it in and they line it all up.
They line up
Everything.
alphabetically every single
Oh
letter,
my
every single
god,
word.
it's the font. It's like he writes in a font. JJ, stop! You're fucking wrong on this one.
Now I
I
want to hear JJ.
No, I don't want to hear it because
I'm not denying that letter is his. I'm not denying it.
Yeah. Now you're not.
But there is
fucking
there's
absurd,
like a 7-day window where he went to California. He could have well written that letter. Like, no denying it. Like you guys said, it's undeniable that he wrote the letter.
Right. Well, it's,
I'm not
it's
sure.
undeniable.
I'm not sure he killed the person.
Are you saying that he went to see her, saw the body, then went back to New York, saw the body, went, oh no, she's dead. They're gonna blame me. Went back to New York, posted the letter.
Imagine. That's what I'm saying. Just imagine, like, you know, we have this thing like in where they say, oh, you can't. So I'm not sure if it's the same in England. Does it have to be unanimous decision for jury or not? I don't think it does it? It has to be majority. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I think it depends from case to case. I think the judge decides whether it's unanimous or where it has to be unanimous or majority.
Yeah. And they decide that before the case, don't they?
Yeah.
They don't decide it like exactly. So they work out how much evidence is in front of them. I don't think that he would have got away with so much stuff if they had that much evidence on him, whether he did it or not.
He never stood trial for this murder, right?
No, exactly. But this is what I'm saying. Like, the evidence for the later cases, somebody must, the judges must know something prior. They don't just, like, judges don't just go into cases like, oh yeah, let's just take this one on its merit. They have to do their research. That's why they're fucking paid so well. Like,
they do pre-trials, don't they? And
yeah,
the defense picks the jury in America. I don't know if that's the case here. Like, they have jury selection process, which is part of the court.
Defense picks the jury in the case that the victim doesn't have anybody to call. So if it's one person versus one person, it's a mixed jury. But if it's this essentially the state versus the person, the defense.
Yeah, it's a
picks
jury
it.
of your peers, isn't it? So they pick what they think is
With regards to
which again
the
is fucking stupid.
with regards to the letter still, again, that's the smoking gun of this whole entire thing for me. One thing that I think resonated, or at least hit very hard in the documentary, was out of nowhere, and I didn't even expect Jarecki to pull this, when he sits there and puts both of the images together and says, so which one of these did you write? I thought that was fucking smart as fuck.
You
and
see
I was
them
like,
building up to that, don't they? And like,
Yes.
they don't say what he's going to say, but they're like, I love that bit where they're going like, so how are we going to approach this? Because like, it's really
and it's
smart.
simple.
Yeah. Like,
It's simple.
It's like, do I just go at him and go, look, you wrote this letter?
You wrote
or
this.
Do I
Or
wait,
let
make him do it?
Feed it into him and let him let him give the answer. Because when he sat there and was just like, so what one did you write? So nonchalantly, as if to sit there and be like, well, if you allegedly didn't write it and your sentence, you should know. Which one did you write? And the fact that he sits there and goes, no idea. Like that, I was just like, no. The other thing that fucking got me is where Robert Durst knew the moment where he was about to be bamboozled with the letters. You noticed that he leant back and his mannerism, he's blinking and his mannerisms completely changed because he knew he had been fucking
It's
rumbled.
that same thing you get when it's that same feeling you get, you know, when you're about to get in trouble and you know, I know like, that sinking feeling like
your sweat glands open up and you're like,
oh no,
and because you see,
it'd be like a security guard at Marks and Spencer's coming up to me. It's fuck.
Because
where have you got the pepper armies, lad? Show us where you've got the pepper armies.
Let's see that.
We know you're in Marks and Spencer's.
Where's your receipt?
Pepper armies these days.
Where's the sweet chili? Where's the receipt for those sweet chili prawns you've got there?
That's it. I knew you were going to say that. Fucking beautiful.
Because they're fucking delicious.
Fucking years. But you knew as well, you notice his mannerisms and his body language throughout the entire documentary. He sits there very cool, calm, collected, very sort of drawn out and bored almost of just repeating himself. But when it comes to the fact of him having to compare these letters and this handwriting, it's very animated, leans back, moves his head more, starts blinking a little more. And he can only come out honestly if I just use one word answer, 2 words, no idea. He can't go anywhere because if he sits there and tries to guess, he could fuck himself up royally.
Yeah.
And then it leads to what really fucking puts him.
And before we do that, we'll talk about earlier in I think the episode before. There's the first interview that he does with Jarecki. And
I thought this was going to be a link to the Not Another Conspiracy podcast socks.
When are they coming out?
No, I'm speaking with Steph at the moment, so maybe. But if you want to buy some socks, NAC.
OG socks.
OG socks.
Sorry, Ben. I've actually worn mine now, so
I'm wearing a different brand of socks now. Oh, nearly fell over.
Subhuman
You can get 20% discount at ogsocks. Is it .co.uk?
OG Stock. If you use the code NAC.
Get 20% discount. Comfy socks, not just saying it, they are fucking comfortable.
They are great socks. So I think episode 5, he has the first interview with Jarecki, and Jarecki goes, should we take a break now? And Durst stays in his chair, and I think someone gives him water, and he just says something. He goes, why'd you have to go and say that for?
He says, I didn't knowingly
he started practicing.
I did not know. Yeah, I didn't know.
Didn't he?
Yeah,
I didn't
knowingly profoundly lie. No, I was lying. Or something like that. It's as if
is that when the cameras are still on him?
Yeah,
and he's got all the light, and he's actually rocking. He's not. You see him, and he's just like, and I didn't know, and he's rehearsing it. Like,
it's so
I didn't
weird.
knowingly, profusely, unwittingly lie or something.
Yeah, and then his lawyer comes up to him and goes, they got that on camera.
Dickhead, your mic's on hot.
Your mic's still on. Like, just let you know. And he whispers it, almost just whispers, because just let you know, your mic's still on.
But he doesn't do anything about it, does he?
Because you can tell he's got that. He's so used to lying and getting away with it. He's like, he knows to get away with it is to not react. And that's throughout the thing. Is like, if you don't react, no one knows what's happening. No comment is a good thing.
Exactly the same approach he had with when they sat there and said, "So what writing's your one?" No idea.
No idea.
Best answer.
Yeah.
Well,
I love him.
So let's jump
that
back
guy.
to that second Jarecki interview, and
Yes, the second one.
and they pretty much stop the interview there, don't they? They go, okay,
Yes.
and they go, okay, well, thank you, and he goes, thank you, yeah, great, and they shake hands and stuff, and he walks.
Do you want a
out
sandwich? Do you want a sandwich, Robert?
There's some sandwiches,
Yeah,
Robert.
sandwich
You
be
can tell, like the runner there,
pampering.
It kind of feels bad, like you've just dropped a bombshell on an old man, and he's kind of like, oh fuck, like, what do I say here?
Because it was good though. That was the smoking gun.
And they were like,
perfect.
bang, because you do know at this point, the next day. I'll wait. Something happens the next day that had been leading up to this. The next day after that episode airs, so all this has happened. Right, so the day before that episode airs, he gets arrested.
Right, hold on. But as he's walking out of that interview, he goes in to use the toilet, and he starts sitting there and saying, "Oh my God, they know." Oh, sorry, go on. He says. The words there.
And also, hang on, just before that, we've missed out that whole section where he starts like creeping up on his brother's porch.
Oh yeah.
He just starts like, but we can come back onto that.
Yeah, let's come back on this.
This is where
because he goes to trial for that after this interview. So because he's a fucking lunatic, basically. He's in court all the time. He's in court all the time. He is. Right, he says he goes to Berman. He doesn't know that his mic's still on, and obviously they're not going to stop recording. Like most films, Cruz, when the interview's over, you just stop recording. You just turn it off. Everything's done. And they start packing down. They knew that something was
no. That isn't true.
No way would you turn
lights off,
and he did. They knew he still had his mic on. But they pretended.
I don't think they did. I don't think they did know that it was on. I think that was a rash quit because when we filmed the TV show, they said to us in the beginning on the first day, they said just be wary of what you say when you're not filming, when the camera is not on you, because your microphone is always on. So we always have a microphone on.
Because they're filming other things. Like
I agree with
No. We all had individual microphones on.
Yeah, I know, but everyone's got a lav mic on. I understand that, but the reason your mic was always on is because they were filming other parts of the show when you weren't on camera.
But if they were actually filming some people like at the other end of the thing to me, and I was like, that fucking cunt, what a bitch. That would have exactly been the same as Robert Durst. Like,
but he wasn't filming a TV show that was continuing to film after he left. He was the subject of the interview. They turned the lights off, and
I thought he was just going for a piss.
No,
he was.
No, I thought it was the end of the interview.
No, he was just going for a piss. It was at the end of the interview
that he walked into the bathroom to take a piss, and that's when he starts.
Yeah, I know, but the interview had ended. It wasn't.
Yeah. So I'm in agreement with Ben. If I was on that production team, it would have been the best interest to sit there and be like, tell the runner, tell everyone to leave the fucking mic on it until he.
I agree, but I don't believe that they knew that he was going to do that.
No, but
he hot mic'd once already, so there's a risk of him doing it again.
Yeah, okay, I agree with that. I'm just saying I don't think it was a matter of they forgot to do it.
No, that's what I mean. It's like,
or purposely left it on.
Oh,
I feel it was just
on. There's no way you would finish because they would have started packing down.
Exactly. Yeah.
They would have started going, right, well, that's the interview done.
We're talking about multi-million-pound production companies. We aren't like, they'd have just been like, yeah, just go for a piss. I don't think.
All right,
Do we have the transcript of what he said?
Yeah, I've got it. I was going to read it.
Oh, sorry.
As soon as someone raps, everyone wants to go home.
Yeah.
So they would have started packing down.
But you've also got to go back onto the fact that they've been trying to get that interview for so fucking long. Like, there's a part in the documentary as well. Yeah, it's irrelevant to what we're talking about, but they're constantly. I think they're contacting him for like nearly 2 years.
Yeah,
they're just like they're ringing him up constantly. Like, they're not in a fucking massive rush. Like, the guy at the end of the episode, he tries to make out that he's like, I've got loads of other production things on. He probably hasn't. I genuinely think that was an accident. I don't believe that they meant to leave.
I think they knew that he'd hot mic before.
And they'd do it again.
They're like, just leave the audio running. Don't worry about it. Because the camera goes off. Like, the camera is turned off, but the mic stays on.
What did he say?
So they were like, I genuinely think they went, just don't stop recording until we take that. Until we take that mic back. We're not going to take the mic back straight away because normally you get up for an interview and you'd hand the mic back.
Yep.
That is,
but not if you were desperate for a piss.
No, exactly. But they've not sought out that microphone. If they've gone, have a sandwich, it's time to go. Like interview's over. Normally they
only went for a piss though. It's like
the sound guy would have come over and grabbed them, thank you, taken the mic back, and it would have been over. But instead they let him go to the toilet. And
I just
while he was in the toilet, he said this. Where is it? Oh, scrolled up.
This guy. Also, while Ben's looking for that, I can't find that picture for you, but I will describe it. He was just a fat version of himself.
Oh, really?
He looked like a fat pedo.
Yeah, he's a fat pedo with like a bit of black hair, but lots of grey hair.
There it is. You're caught. What the hell did I do? Killed them all, of course.
Where is it? I want to read it.
That sounds like a paranoid brain to me, though. That doesn't sound like schizophrenia. That sounds like paranoia. Sounds like paranoia.
Sounds like someone talking to
himself. Where are you reading that one from?
Of course, you have.
Though Durst's microphone is on, they don't listen to that audio for 2 years.
What?
So
exactly.
No one heard
so
that
it wasn't. So it wasn't purposely done. That's what I was saying.
No, I'd say
they
it
didn't
purposely
listen.
done.
It wasn't purposely done. I reckon they caught it on a bit of B-roll. That's it. They literally were just like, if it was purposely done, the first thing you would do is you would listen to what that person said when they weren't on the mic. That's if it was purposely done. That's why. That's maybe why I thought that, because of that documentary. If you knew that someone was going to admit to something, you would look at it straight away. You wouldn't wait. Excellent.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm still not saying he's innocent.
Jarecki even mentions that he formed some kind of almost bias with him because he liked the guy.
Yeah. I think Jarecki was shocked to find out it was him who did Berman.
Yeah.
I think Jarecki was fucking bummed out because of all the relationship they had built up in that last 2 years was so difficult to get a fucking conversation with him.
Because they in that time, from the interview 1 to interview 2, it was 2 years. But in that time, he'd also found out that he'd killed Susan Berman. But he didn't. But then Jarecki had only started sharing his results of his investigation with the police in 2013.
You see, this is where I am off this because I don't know anything about Susan Berman and I don't know any admission afterwards. So this is where my investigations have gone further.
They did
just at the end of episode 6. That's where my investigation went.
They didn't discover the guys from the Jinx didn't discover the monologue until June the 12th, 2014. Imagine that. Imagine being like,
so there hasn't actually been an admission that he did kill Susan Berman, apart from the hot mic.
No, I think not yet. But he's going to court. His court date's been put back and back and back and back. So he'll die before he goes to court.
There must be so much evidence. If he did do it, it must be so much evidence pointing towards.
He did, yeah. So on March the 10th, 2015, after the 5th episode is aired. So this is when basically all the evidence has been turned over to the police. The documentary's out. Probably lots more people are coming forward about Robert Durst in that after seeing the documentary. People going, oh shit, that's fucking that guy that we didn't know his name. He just came into our town and did something weird. Like
he was wearing a wig and he didn't speak in words. He spoke in hand symbols.
That's that deaf woman.
Diane Signer.
A judge on March the 10th, 2000, a judge signs a warrant for the arrest of Robert Durst in the case of Susan Berman. And then a day before the Jinx finale on HBO, this must have been so good for the press team working on this. The fact that the day before the finale, I guess they must have.
They probably made it all up. To be fair, let's be honest. Robert Durst probably didn't even exist.
The day before, the FBI arrested Durst in New Orleans. Moments before he's about to board a fucking boat to Cuba.
Oh mate, that's the last escape.
A latex mask that he'd been wearing because he's a latex mask, like to change his features. A gun, $40,000, and he was about to get on a boat to Cuba. He would have been gone.
Do you know what I really love about him? Like he's
doing all the cliche shit.
Ever played
Richard
GTA for the
Nixon
first
mask.
time when people have been playing it for years? You know, when like people are always like, fucking GTA is fucking amazing, and you get on it for the first time, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go fucking gung-ho, and you're walking around with $20,000 and a gun, like a pistol, and people just come up to you with an AK and just be like, and take your money and gone. This is what I love about Robert Durst. He's just so like, fucking, I'm going to Cuba, I got $40,000 and a gun.
And a Halloween
What are you gonna do in
mask.
Cuba with that? Everyone's got a fucking gun.
Yeah.
Everyone sells cocaine. They've probably got more than $20,000 stuffed under their fucking pillow.
I
What
like
a
as well
guy.
that in November 2014, just quickly going back, after re-examining the cadaver letter, the LAPD concludes that Durst was the author. Like, no. After you watched the HBO documentary, you sat there and went, I think we fucked up, boys. Like,
Free
that's
evidence,
what you
innit?
did. Yeah, exactly.
They did all the hard work. for
There's
him.
a lot of they were saying, well, again, we'll have to do this at a later date. We have to go back onto conspiracy, but the West Memphis stuff, there was like 8 years between each one, and they were saying that there was so much corruption because of the first documentary that it basically made those guys look guilty from the reflection of other people watching it.
Jesus.
So all the people in the South are all just like, oh, fucking dirty devil worshipping hippies. We're all just like, yeah, they did it. But then all the good guys like Johnny Depp and fucking Eddie Vedder are all just like, no, they didn't do it, man. They just love death metal, man. And it's I guess it's life imitating art, imitating life kind of vibe, but weird.
so
I still
he's-
like the guy.
He could get the death penalty, but I don't think he'll make it to court. He's still waiting to happen. But there's also some other murders that have been linked to Durst.
This is where I know nothing.
Yeah, see,
Yeah,
I
so
know
there's
nothing from now on.
Vermont police begin investigating a possible link between Durst and a college student who went missing in 1971. The last time she was seen alive was in his health store, and then and
How ironic is that?
and she she would normally get the bus from the bus stop outside of the health store, and she never got the bus home.
I went to the health store, like fucking,
And I lost my health.
ate some raisins and died.
Yeah, he's got so many court cases.
California raisins. Did you used to watch that?
Yeah, according to Rhoda, he's done.
So
like,
just
he's-
that one.
Piece of shit.
No, and then in
Dean, stop
1990
talking about him like that.
Sorry.
in 1997, the disappearance of two teenage girls in Northern California. According to report, Durst would frequently stay at a homeless shelter where one of the missing teens volunteered. So, like, he was just like he was
He
either.
couldn't help himself.
I think he could be. I reckon he's done more. I reckon eventually they'll find like loads of killings that he's done.
Yeah.
I reckon 10 at least.
I think if we're talking about his time scale in life, if we're talking about how many times he's done stuff versus how many times he's admitting it, something tells me that even if he does go to prison, he's not he's once in every like 8 years he's going to have like a mental lapse and admit something. He's not. Surely he must be like fucking 80 years old now or some shit.
He's really
he was born
old.
in 1943,
And
I think.
And surely at this point he must be like
77
I'm
he is.
I'm not going anywhere. Like
Yeah.
But I
Life's
think he's
done
got that
enough to
personality
be
where
like,
he
I
just
did it.
won't admit to it. He's got that
because
personality
he's
where
got
it's
that personality
it's
disconnection.
never his fault. It's never his fault.
Yeah.
It's always
Fucking
someone else's fault.
crazy.
Even with Morris Black, it wasn't his fault. It was self-defense. Like it's
Sounds
think-
like it wasn't though. It was.
yeah. It
fucking
sounds
murder.
like murder. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
all day long.
there's something like, and I shouldn't say the word resonates because that's like profiles me essentially, but like something resonates with me with him.
Nope, you didn't.
Like he's just like when he's talking, everything that he's saying, like again, I'm going back onto mental disorders and stuff. Everything he's saying, I believe that he genuinely does believe.
Yeah.
I think this is a thing.
Yeah.
I think there's just something there that's just like, there's that Nick. I don't know what it's like to have like a mental disorder in that element, but I don't. It must be really fucking difficult. I don't want it to always come down with these crime podcasts to like a last memo of just been like, yeah, but you've got to give it to him. He had a mental disorder. But there is something there that it like doesn't. It seems like everything he's saying is kind of like, I don't really remember doing it, so I'm just going to say I didn't do it because that makes. Wasn't real. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And people plead innocence, and they plead. What's the really famous thing that people plead?
Not insanity.
When they're either under the influence or they're like, for instance, there's people who have they plead insanity, and it's just like everything and this is the hard part for me, that when I look at that guy, you can kind of tell there's nothing there.
Yeah, there's
there is nothing good there.
His eyes in general just do not look right.
But you can tell that whatever is coming out of his mouth, I genuinely don't believe. I think you don't believe. I don't believe what he's saying.
No.
Like, sorry, that's probably the wrong thing. So that would be me just agreeing with you both. I believe what he's saying, but I believe that he knows that there's something else going on, but it's not how he feels like emotionally. Like, it's not.
Exactly.
He couldn't do that, even though he's a little spoilt rich kid shit. He doesn't quite know why or what he's done.
Yeah.
Which is probably why I resonate with him. Because I'm not a really bad drunk, but I have friends who are bad drunks and they get embarrassed about the things that they've done when they're drunk. And
I know people like that.
They have that look in their eyes.
Yeah, shark eyes.
Ollie, if you're watching, that's who I'm talking about.
Yeah, Ollie is
Ollie's one of those guys. And
it looks like shark eyes. It's like dead eyes.
Yeah.
That that's not that's the person that you know, but they're not in the same. It changes like everything about.
It's not the same body that they committed. That, whatever thing they did in that body, and it's like that's why I felt for him a lot because, and that's why I really want to know more about. And it doesn't matter. Like, I agree with you both. I think he probably did do those crimes, but I would like to know what happened prior to that because I don't feel that it's when people always go. It's the same with everything. Like, if you're rich and you're successful, they always go, you're rich and successful because your father was rich and successful and blah, 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 and they do that. Yeah. But they never go, you're fucking shit and you're a murderer because your father was shit and a murderer and your grandfather was shit and a murderer.
It's true.
They do, but they usually blame it on something else. They don't blame it on... And this is the thing with rich white men.
Yeah,
essentially.
I think he's definitely his mother's death and witnessing that probably got a lot to do with it. Whether or not she died and he saw it, or his mother's death, and then what he did, he made up in his mind was that he saw it happen.
And to be resentful of his family,
which is another part of like bipolar and disorders like that is you make things up. Like, I know people with bipolar and they make up so much shit. Like, and it's like insane the kind of stuff they make up. Like, it's almost like it's like make their personality more grandiose and more important that things have happened to her. Like, his dad's making him watch his mother kill herself is a really good story to have in your brain. A really good way of saying how important was I that I was forced to watch my mother kill herself.
Yeah. If I think about it enough,
it's quite a what's the word? Like, he's made that up, which it seems like he did, because like no one else in the family says that happened. Just him.
Yeah. And like, you'd think that would be quite something that each family member would.
Yeah, and they made him watch. They made us watch. Like, but really, none of them said that happened, and I believe them. I think he's making. I think he's got a psychological problem that is forcing him to. It's narcissism, is what it is.
Yeah, sociopathic narcissism.
Narcissism is probably the best word for it.
Yeah, I'd say narcissism.
But what a great story.
It was an incredible documentary.
100% recommend everyone watches The Jinx on HBO.
An absurd roller coaster that leads you into thinking that, I don't know, this fucking demon gets away with it because of his ability to talk so calmly and I don't know, just to be so fucking what's the word I'm thinking of? Like, so sinister.
Charming. as
charming.
well.
Well,
It's very
sinisterly charming.
I don't think charming's the word at all for him at all, because charming
maybe
implies.
not
I think
charming.
charming implies that you are conscious of you are charming, like you are trying to charm. He doesn't seem like somebody. He's a chancer. Maybe chancing sounds better. I believe, and I don't. It seems, and it still implies that he is conscious of what he's trying to do.
And
like I don't.
Sorry, JJ, go ahead. So I'm butting in.
No. I genuinely think that, like, we all know people who are charming who are fucking arseholes. Like, we know people who are like, they're just like, oh, and everyone's like, oh, that guy's so great, but everyone knows he's a fucking arsehole. And I know loads of people like that.
Yeah.
And you like, in the music industry, you find fucking thousands of them. They're all like charming as fuck, but they're actually arseholes.
Yeah, and they're not in the industry, not the actual. I mean, loads of them in the industry. Like, not just the artists. Anyone that associates with the music industry is a chancer of some way or another. Like anyone that I work with that's like in like the production side of it, from like a record label side of it, just like you can tell by reading their emails that they're a manipulative chancer, and not everyone can see that. Like, there's only a few people that can see through people like that.
You see memos, like, without going again too much into that, but you see like messages from, like, I mean, not going into the music thing because we were never big into it that much, but you see emails from people who are trying to be fucking Billy Big Bollocks, and you read them and it's as if they've read a fucking 101 of how to manipulate people, because they use your name so many times. Like, I'm used to reading a fucking email. It has my name at the top and my name at the bottom. That's it. If you read an email that's got your fucking name in it 20 fucking times, you know they're trying to fuck you over because they're trying to use your name, trying to personalize you to that scenario. This is why Robert Durst is just like, he's just sat there just like, I don't know. I don't know. I love him.
And again, sort of like wrapping up with the whole Robert Durst thing in general, if someone was to sit in a room and listen to his story without knowing any of the backgrounds, it wouldn't surprise me if he was able to convince them that he was innocent. Just from his mannerisms.
I don't think he would. I personally think if we were sat in a room with him, I don't think he'd be. I think he's used to just what's the word? Not conforming, but just going along with what's going on. I don't think by any way he's trying to snake you into anything. That's why I think I liked him in that documentary.
Yeah.
You know, going on to, like, I mean, obviously we'll have to wrap this up soon, but the Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker thing. You looked at how many murders were done in that fucking in real life, but that documentary, like, by the time they'd even got an inch of who he was, he murdered like 30 people. Yeah, and they had his fucking shoe print from day one.
Yeah,
and we talked about it in the last one. They had a shoe print from pretty much day one, and it was like one shoe print out of 2 shoes that could have been made in the whole fucking world. Yeah, and he killed everybody pretty much in the same area, apart from like a handful of others. But you just look at him, and he's probably just been like, so what? You know, I don't care. I'm rich. I'll do what I want. Even if I go to prison, I'm still rich. Do what I want. Yeah. You know, and he's like, the thing that I'm, maybe this is my roundup on it. Maybe the thing why I'm so compassionate towards him is because it doesn't feel like from day one he's been trying to get anything other than nothing. He doesn't seem like he's trying to get respect from anybody. He doesn't seem like he cares about like anyone's respect. He's not trying to gain his father's respect. He's not trying to gain anybody's respect.
If anything, it's
just always gone on.
It's the opposite. He's just trying to just be the black sheep almost. He's trying to be the
maybe.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to like just disassociate himself with that wealth and that kind of power thing, and like I don't know. But yeah, I just think
when people do like fucking mental psychedelic drugs, that's the experience that they get.
Yeah,
they get a very far distant from reality where it becomes so unimportant that you try to become something else that's just further than that. Do you guys watch American Gods?
No.
It's honestly, it's fucking incredible. Like, it's mental how I just I bypassed it. Yeah, I know. We need to go.
I got wrap up.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Sorry, American Gods. Watch American Gods, guys. It's so good.
Yeah.
But as well, Robert Durst, sinister, disgusting. He's in Nick now, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he's
in Nick.
Yeah.
Good.
For first degree murder. For Susan Berman.
Finally.
Susan Berman. Yeah. Whose turn is it to pick? Dean, I think it's your turn to pick.
Oh shit.
Think about it.
I'll think about it and I'll get back
Sorry,
to you.
guys, we're not gonna. If you've listened to this podcast just to find out what the next episode is going to be, you're gonna have to wait.
We
might keep it. I think we should keep it a surprise from now on because I didn't put this in the. I know we said it last episode what it was going to be, but I didn't put it in the Discord. But thank you everyone who's in the Discord. Thank you to Hux, as always. Like we're gonna have in March, we're definitely having his rebuttal
on flat Earth.
His flat Earth debunking, which is going to be amazing.
I'm looking forward to that massively.
Thank you to all our Patreons. Like you guys are amazing. Thank you. For
you need to do a shout out for the Patreons.
Yeah, I do, but I haven't got them to hand. So, but I did them last week. So, and I don't think we've got any new patrons from there. So, thank you again, all the patrons. We'll definitely shout you out again in the next episode. And make sure if you're listening to this, you have reviewed us on Apple Podcast. You are subscribed on YouTube. Leave reviews, comment, all that like and subscribe shit. Join the Discord.
Hit the notification bell.
Hit that bell to be to be notified of new content. And Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
He didn't. Neither did Ghislaine Maxwell.
What happens when it comes to it? In the thing. Oh, maybe they did. So in the back there is a
light brown jacket.
cool story.
Without the first, we definitely won't be the last. We'd like to welcome you